Go.
The Inside Edge Network is brought to you by Fanatics. Fanatics isn't just our name, it's who we are. Loyal, passionate fans, dedicated to our favorite teams and athletes, to the sports we love. That's why we're honored to be able to offer fans the world's largest collection of official sports apparel and sports jerseys from all the leagues, teams, and players you love. We're talking NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, National Hockey League, the NCAA. I'm a wrestling guy as well. We got WWE apparel available too. It allows us to serve fans of football, baseball, hockey, basketball, lacrosse, soccer, golf, and everything else that gets your heart pumping. Go to fanatics.com by using the QR code on your screen right now to celebrate your teams. It's right there in the corner of your screen. Get your official gear. Level up with us at fanatics.com. Hey, I got something to show you guys. Take a look. It is spring. Happy spring to all of you. Take a look at what we have here for you from AlleyRoseFragrances.com. Beautiful spring scent candles here for you. Hand poured with premium fragrance and essential oils. How about this? Our coconut soy wax candles bring fresh, uplifting spring scents to your home. Made with clean, natural ingredients, they're a mindful choice for sensitive spaces and those who love effortless seasonal fragrances. You got to check it out right now. There's the soft bloom and the lemon bar candles, all healthy ingredients, all from AlleyRoseFragrances.com. And if you're a first-time customer, use the promo code InsideEdge20. That's InsideEdge20. Get this for yourself, for your friends, family, everyone. You want a good-smelling home, AlleyRoseFragrances.com will make it happen. Again, AlleyRoseFragrances.com. Get the new spring candles. And when you order, if you're a first-time customer, InsideEdge20 is the promo code.
Well, the Guardians got rocked. The Cavaliers wrapped up the preseason. Rory goes back-to-back. And the President of the United States just called the Pope terrible. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Sunday night in America. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We got AA Anthony Alford. We got Eli Moon. I am Rob Rozycki. And gentlemen, how are we doing today on this very packed weekend here in, early mid-spring?
Yeah, I don't know where to start. That was a lot there, pal. But I'm doing pretty good, man. I had a good weekend. Blessed to be back on the air with you guys and in front of all of our fans and friends, family of the Inside Edge Network. Thanks for tuning on in. I had a great weekend so far, though. I went out to Mahal's out in Lakewood, and they had Wallace, an LA artist, perform, headlined out there. It was awesome. I worked that gig. It was a great time. Great bands. They had Fake Dad was also out there from LA, based out of New York, but went out to LA. Just awesome. Grumpy Plum from Cleveland. So then I went to the Chip the Ripper show after at Brothers Lounge, sold out show there. It was great to see a hometown legend, like a Cleveland legend, there, like at Brothers Lounge. Just really cool. Really good weekend. Yesterday got to kind of say what's up to Papa Moon. He's voyaging off into a different country, and we'll talk about that later on this week on Real Talk with Papa Moon. But he is doing some things. So I'm doing good, though. I'm blessed, like I said, to be back on the air with you fellas. How you doing, AA?
I'm good. A little sore. Had a good workout earlier today, and, of course, started the morning with church. The Atlanta Braves took the Guardians to church this evening. But overall, it's just a great day. I believe here it was about 80 degrees. So we are officially or pretty close to a good part of the year. And you guys are right. And based on Rob's Open, you already get the sense that this is probably the busiest time right now, sports-wise, outside of football. Like, if you take out football right now, this point here, mid-April, really through Memorial Day, is packed with a ton of important sports stuff going on.
Yeah, we're not even going to get to the Strait of Hormuz. So, yeah, we have a whole lot to talk about here. But this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I am glad that all you gentlemen are doing fine. I'm glad, AA, that you don't have the Don Lemon glasses going right now. I think that's one of my favorite part about our ads. That's always good. And then, you got Eli Moon looking like he's going through Rumspringa. So, we are a fine bunch here. And, I'm old. So, it works out well. But yeah, as Double said, what's up?
Rozycki, I learned something real quick before we move on. I know we got to move on real quick. Yes, me. Yeah. Thank you.
Something before the third segment.
Thank you. I learned something. My co-host of Inside Edge Primetime, Chad Bryant, taught me this through LeBron. That if you just say your age, it doesn't like you can just be like I'm 40 something. You know, like Chad says now I'm 46 years old, and then that backs up his point. So you can start using that in your arsenal. LeBron does it after games. Like if he has a bad game, he goes, "I'm 41. I want to go watch golf."
It's not LeBron who started this, Eli. Actually, you're forgetting one of the greatest sound bites in college football history. It's Mike Gundy that started this one because he's man. He's 40.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, you could just say, well, and then you have the CM Punk all out, you know, like I'm old, I'm cranky, I'm bloody, and I work with fucking children. Yeah, you know, anything like that works. You know, you can play the old man card pretty much whenever you want. But
heck yeah.
One team that, and we have made actually a lot of hay out of the fact that they don't really play the old man card a lot is your Cleveland Cavaliers. They got a lot of young talent here on this roster, and it is playoff bound. They have wrapped up the preseason. They are ready to go now for the part of the NBA schedule that we actually want to watch. So, yeah, they wrapped up against the corpse of the Washington Wizards earlier today. I believe that is 47 wins on this or no, 52 wins on this season, correct?
Yep. Correct.
Good stuff. But yeah, we are now embarking on the serious part of the schedule against those pesky Canadian Toronto Raptors. Do you guys have any first thoughts, initial reactions to this matchup? Because I think we all kind of thought it was going to be Atlanta for the last couple of, you know, we had Atlanta twice out of the last 3 games. They were the one who were in that 5 seed most of the way the last couple of weeks. Toronto, you know, winning today and Atlanta losing was really what did it. But last minute switcheroo with this matchup. How are we feeling about the Raptors, gentlemen?
I'm not too concerned, and this could come back to bite me in a week or two. You know, that soundbite alone, but I'm not too concerned. There's a lot of teams that were scrapping and clawing near the bottom, you know, and when I mean bottom, I mean 5 to 10, really. The first 4, you know, really with Cleveland, Boston, New York, and Detroit, it's kind of been the staple of who's the top of the Eastern Conference in terms of at least standing-wise. We'll see now. The postseason's going to show you who really it is. But with Atlanta, Orlando, Toronto, you know, Charlotte for a moment got real hot after the All-Star break. You know, you look at some of these teams, they were all scrapping and clawing, Rozycki, and I feel like, for me, I'm not too concerned about Toronto. They got some guys there. I mean, R.J. Barrett, Scotty Barnes. They got some guys that can definitely play some good ball, but I just don't think they have enough star power to get past Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. And I think, you know, and I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this AA, because I think when we talk about James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, we talk about, are these guys good enough to get to the NBA Finals? It would be such an indictment on both of their postseason careers if they were to lose a first-round matchup to Toronto. So I just can't buy that this series goes 6 or 7 games. I think this is the 5-game gentleman's sweep, and the Cavs take care of business. I really feel good about how this James Harden, Donovan Mitchell duo is going to go into the postseason. We've talked about it for the last month and a half. Now we get to see what everybody's been waiting for. The show begins, you know. It's like this is the time. So, I mean, that's my take on it.
Well, I want to give props to PJ Ziegler of Fox 8 for reminding us on Twitter that the Raptors were 3-0 against the Cavaliers, but in this regular season, but it was within the first month of the season. So at that, a completely different team. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Cavaliers, and who knows what the injury status of those games were even back then. So they have not seen James Harden with the Cavs. And I think that's going to be the big thing with this matchup. Mentally, I was preparing for Atlanta. Mentally, especially those, you know, the couple of battles, particularly the Wednesday game last week. That was the one where it's like, okay, we got to see where we measure up. I think one of the biggest storylines, guys, is going to be we haven't seen that often the big four together on the floor. How are they going to look in this matchup going in? We should get a playoff schedule during our broadcast here tonight, so stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen. But how will that look? all together. That's what I'm curious about. What's going to be the chemistry? And they're going to have to get off to a fast start against Toronto. Whenever that first game is, it'll probably be Saturday afternoon. Start off strong. Don't give the Raptors any hope in this series whatsoever. So that's my initial thoughts. The other thing too, Rob, thank goodness we're not facing Atlanta, because Toronto, not as dangerous from downtown as the Hawks are. So from that standpoint, you're not going to really test our perimeter defense as much as the Hawks would.
No, but the trade-off on that is that the Hawks had no size. And we were going to be able to roll underneath, no problem. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Thomas Bryant even. I would even think Donovan would have a good day with that, something like that. That would be the only caveat with that. But, yeah, I mean, Toronto doesn't really have that three-point run. Okay, that's cool. But you said it, though, earlier with the way that, both of you kind of alluded to it. It would be a stain on the record of Donovan, on Harden, on Kenny Atkinson to lose the first round playoff series in this position. Mm-hmm. We're all kind of looking past this. We're all looking to see how this is going to work out with, are we going to deal with, New York first, Boston, whatever's going on. That was always kind of the thought with these matchups. And to piggyback off your point, Double A, of they better start out quick because all the pressure is on them. They lose game one in Cleveland, all of a sudden, this team that does not typically respond well to the lights getting bright, to the screws getting tightened up a little bit, this could be an upset special if the Toronto Raptors do get out of the gate and have a little hope. So, yeah, they're going to have to do this. I'm a little scared of Scotty Barnes. He's been tied to Evan Mobley pretty much since they were drafted right next to each other. Barnes got the Rookie of the Year. Evan came in second. They've been kind of this, this deal kind of going for the last few years. Mm-hmm. And it seems like Barnes has gotten the upper hand on Mobley more times than not. So, yeah, I'm a little worried about what's going on. This is not the Miami Heat. This is not a play-in corpse of a team that is just looking to get out as fast as possible. This is a team that might actually think they have a chance at making the second round. So the Cavaliers, if they play their game, if they remember how talented they are, if they remember how good they are, should be fine. But if it's that Cavalier team that shows up thinking they can hit the, second gear on defense and just going through the motions, again, this is not the Heat that you beat by 50 points last year. This is a real NBA team, and they will kick your ass if you let them do it.
So here's my thing too, Rozycki. You brought up, the Atlanta Hawks, the Toronto Raptors, and they are going to be interesting enough where, yes, I think they'll win a game, Toronto, and that's where I stand because I just think, honestly, I kind of feel a little bit, not too much. I felt for them for about like 10 seconds. Boston and Detroit. Because I truly think some of these play-in teams are better than the Toronto Raptors. I get they're the 5th seed. I get it. I know they worked their way to the standings, but there's not that much of a gap between 5 and 10. And I do believe teams like Orlando, who gave the Cavs a run for their money a few years ago. You look at the Charlotte Hornets, who, like I said, were hot after the All-Star break. I mean, they have Con Canupa, who just won the only rookie in NBA history to win the three-point crown for the season. They have LaMelo Ball. He's been waiting for some postseason action, some true postseason action. You have a team like Charlotte that's hungry. And we talked about Atlanta. I mean, they've been playing good ball after the break, too. And not to disparage the Raptors, but I truly think the Cavs are in a good spot. I think Boston and Detroit might have their hands full a little bit more, and those series go a little bit longer than the Cleveland series. Because I do think Charlotte's hungry. I think Orlando's still hungry. I think some of these teams, Miami, the big talk of Miami all year, the only thing we ever really talked about them was Bam Adebayo's 83-point game. You wouldn't have really known where the Miami Heat were, and you would have just looked at the standings today, not you specifically, but people at home looking and go, oh, the Miami Heat are in the play-in again? Okay, but these are teams that I think are going to give a little bit more run for the money, and the Cavs may have lucked out getting Toronto and then possibly a Detroit or one of these play-in teams next round.
Well, Miami's a fact. What's up? I was going to
Rob, you go, and then I got to follow up.
They pace of play through the roof. Like, they're boom, 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 boom. That they made that change this year from last year, and Spoelstra kind of, is trying to actually squeeze blood out of a stone. And if everything does work well, they can play well. Charlotte, you said, is red hot. I believe the stat on them is that they have more wins in the calendar year 2026 than any other NBA team. Maybe the Thunder might have them, but they're definitely top two. And Orlando, we've seen them time and time again be just pains in the ass. They will beat you up. They will kick your ass. You'll probably beat them, but you'll definitely have to earn that. And then, honestly, I'm not scared of Philadelphia at all. Joel Embiid's dealing with appendicitis now. The process is still ongoing. I know Tyrese Maxey's a good player and all, but I'm not really. But yeah, you're right though. With most of these play-in teams, and even the Hawks, I'll put them in there too. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between these teams that are kind of peaking at the right time, that are getting hot at the right time, that are trending up, as opposed to maybe a Miami Heat team that you could say is trending down a little bit. You could say maybe Toronto is kind of just mediocre right now. But the whole thing is, and what scares me about it is, that's exactly what we were saying about the Pacers last year. We were just saying, hey, random ass Eastern Conference middle-seeded team, we should be able to take these guys out no problem. And then all of a sudden, we start learning these guys on these rosters because they're just beating the crap out of us. So that's what I keep on saying. Like, they can't just chill out. They can't just go into cruise control. They have to play for real, and they can't take breaks on defense, and they can't commit, a shit ton of turnovers. They're going to have to play Cavalier basketball and be the team that is the most talented team on the floor.
My only point to that, real quick, before you go Double A, is I'm going to say Double A had them. No, Indiana Pacers had.
Yeah, my team had defensive issues.
But here's the thing: the Indiana Pacers dropped to that. My only point on that is Pascal Siakam was on the Indiana team. He had just won an NBA championship not too long ago with Toronto, so they had somebody to look to. This Toronto team doesn't have that. So that is when the going gets tough, who are they going to look to? These guys haven't really played a lot of postseason ball. James Harden, I know he's had his struggles. Donovan Mitchell, we know he's had his struggles. They have a lot of postseason experience. And even the guys that didn't have a ton of postseason experience 4 or 5 years ago, Jared Allen, he has some experience now. Evan Mobley has experience. So that's where I feel. I get they haven't won a title. Like I just referenced Pascal Siakam, but they have a little bit more experience than this Toronto team. Yeah, that's what I feel, Double A.
I will push back a little bit on the Cavs' outlook versus compared to the Pistons, Knicks, and Celtics, because unfortunately the Cavs' defense is going to give any team an opportunity. I have to trust that what Kenny Atkinson mentioned after a game on a Tuesday night, now it slips my mind who they were facing that night. I think it was Orlando.
What?
And they won that game, but Kenny Atkinson called out their defensive effort, saying if you're not going to lock in defensively, like it's a choice. If this team's not going to lock in defensively, any team that they face, including Toronto, has a legitimate opportunity to win that game. And defensively, if Toronto takes any of the first 2 games in this first round series, I'm not going to be a happy camper, because that tells me that defensively they're not on their game, Cleveland, and they're going to be out of sorts and kind of reaching, and that's where they have gotten in trouble in the past in the playoffs. Defensively, they must come through and provide effort all 48 minutes.
That's the frustrating thing about this team, is that, and it's been all year, and hopefully we can just, if the Cavaliers, do play well and everything like that, we can write it off to just the regular season being the regular season. But this team is woefully inconsistent. We've seen the defense show up here and there. That's been the irritating thing, is that we can look at these guys, understanding that Mitchell and Harden will never be known as defensive first guards. But we can look at these guys and say, we know you're talented enough to play good team defense. We know you're good enough and talented enough and smart enough, and people like you. But we know that you're good enough to not turn the ball over 15 to 20 times a game. But it happens. It seems like they just kind of show up and take the break that day. Now, hopefully, when we're talking about the NBA playoffs and we're talking about the thing that humiliated these guys last year and the year before on a very public stage, hopefully they'll be taking this a little bit more seriously. Hopefully they'll be throwing a little bit more mental energy at this. But that's the frustrating thing, is that we know they're talented enough. It's just getting their shit together.
Yeah, and I completely understand where you're both coming from. The defensive side of the ball is going to be a big question. I do think the Cavs did a better job of addressing the bigs when it came to, okay, how are they going to be a tougher-minded, stronger-minded team defensively in the postseason? They have Thomas Bryant, who's been looking very sharp, I feel like, off the bench for the Cavaliers, providing valuable minutes. Naquan Tomlin, who the Cavs obviously brought into the full fold here for the Cavs, the second unit, the Cavs second unit. He's been very good and bringing a youthfulness. He reminds me, in a way, not completely, but when J.J. Hickson was running with those Cavs, those LeBron teams early on, Naquan Tomlin gives me this vibes of J.J. Hickson, and that's a good thing because I love J.J. Hickson, man. He was slamming down, just creating that youthful energy, and you're going to need stuff like that. So that's what Tomlin's going to bring, and you're going to have Thomas Bryant, who was a menace for the Pacers against this Cavs team. Not the same team, but the Cavaliers last postseason. He's now in wine and gold, and he's going to be creating some valuable moments, I feel like, for this Cavaliers team. Now, it's going to come down to really the bigs. We can talk about Harden, we can talk about Mitchell. They're going to do their thing. I mean, we expect 25, 30 from one of them at least in these games. Harden to have 8, 9 assists. But we talked the last month or two really about the importance of the bigs, and I think primarily Jared Allen. Because we can try to force Evan Mobley to be the star that we all want him to be, the third overall pick. We want him to be the next coming of, we want him to be what San Antonio has in Victor Wembanyama. And it's not going to happen. I'm here to tell you it's not going to happen. But what we can have is somebody that's going to pick and choose his shots, have an ability to impact the offense and still be, a former defensive player of the year, somebody who's going to stand strong defensively. But it really does, to go to Jared Allen here, it's going to start with him and it's going to end with him. If he gets going early, like you said, Double A, it's going to, and Rob, you mentioned the pace of play for Toronto. If Jared Allen is getting the ball in his hands early, slamming it down, doing some quick baskets, that's going to be really good for the Cavaliers because he's going to get his momentum going early and often. And I think Toronto doesn't really stand too much of a chance down low in the paint. They have guys, I know Jakob Poeltl and some others, they don't really stand too much of a chance. We talk about momentum in the postseason. This is a series where I do believe this is going to be a momentum-building series for the Cavaliers, while other teams are playing 6 or 7 game series. I think they're done in 5, and they're moving on to the next round, and they're looking at Detroit and JB Bickerstaff. I truly, that's how I feel, fellas. I feel good about it, though. I feel good.
It's an expectation, right?
What's up?
Like, that's the expectation, is to get through this first round. And that's why, kind of going in, it has a feel of last year's Miami series going in, but we know that it means more. We know that every game is going to be analyzed. I mean, the two most important players on this Cavs team in this playoff run, whether or not they're going all the way or they're going to fall short, is Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Mm-hmm. Those are the two most important players on this team in terms of how far they can go. They must establish their presence in the paint. I know Evan's going to bring it defensively. They both will defensively, but particularly Evan Mobley. But offensively, they got to be a presence. And the other thing, too, and I have to proactively mention this or preactively mention this, can Jared Allen's body hold up? And also Donovan, can everybody's bodies hold up? But Jared Allen.
At least they're starting this out healthy. At least it doesn't look like that there's any nagging, bullshit kind of walking into this. So whatever they're going to be dealing with is going to be a playoff problem. But yeah, the Cavaliers, they will be dealing with the Toronto Raptors again. The second that the playoff schedule does come out, we will let you know about what is happening. The Eastern Conference matchups are finalized. I think the game in Denver just went final with San Antonio and the Nuggets. Mm-hmm. So that'll basically put the West to bed. But right now, I think the seeds are pretty much locked up right now. Anyway, you got Denver. They're going to be playing Minnesota. The Lakers and the Rockets are going to be playing. And then the Thunder and Spurs are going to be awaiting play-in winners. And those could be either the Suns, the Blazers, the Clippers, or the Warriors. Yeah. Now, if it's a non-Cavalier thing, the one thing I'm going to keep an eye on right now, and we were talking about our playoff positioning and seeding, and do you want the 3, do you want the 4? The Nuggets or the Spurs, if they want to win the NBA title, they're probably going to have to beat one or the other and the Thunder. So you have three, I think, pretty generational teams. I would say at least two. The Thunder we can probably debate, or I'm sorry, the Nuggets we can debate on. But you're going to have three teams in the West that are going to be doing everything they can to get to a title. And the shit thing is out of those three teams, at least two of them will not be representing the West. So that'll be fun to watch. I think the Western Conference is going to be ripe for a lot of entertainment coming up.
Yeah, I'm excited for Victor Wembanyama. I'm excited to see what he does on the Western Conference side. He's so fun. I was just in San Antonio back in, oh my goodness, March is flying by. But last month I was there, and it was awesome. I got to see my bros in San Antonio, and they love the Spurs, man. They love the Spurs. And you know what? I keep telling my bro
Well, I'm
June.
sure they're really happy. I mean, they had that 3-year span between Tim Duncan and Wemby. I'm sure them and Patriots fans are probably, cracking champagne bottles.
Rob,
right
I gotta.
now because
Let's make sure their coach stay out of trouble, though.
I got to be honest, though, guys. Like I said, I went down there, my dude June, my bro June and Devontae, and they all love the Spurs. I went out to some, different, restaurants and clubs out there, and just saw the scenery. Everybody's in a Spurs jersey. So I tell the guys, down there, I'm like, hey, hopefully it's my Cavs versus your guys' Spurs. So all love to my guys down in San Antonio, and that's what I'm watching. I'm also watching if this OKC team is healthy enough. We talk about health and all that. Is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going to stay healthy enough? Are these other guys going to remain on the court? It's hard to repeat. We talk about repeating and three-peating. It's special for a reason,
Well, keep in mind, too, and I'll let you finish real quick. The Thunder have had the most games missed for injury of the league-wide this year, even though they're the best team. So, yeah, they're used to being banged up.
They are, but not with Shea missing so much time. It's been other role players. Jalen Williams missed time to begin the year. The starter, Jalen Williams. There's two Jalen Williams on OKC, so not to get confused with bench Jalen Williams, who's also pretty good. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's the big cog in the machine. I mean, he's the guy that makes it go. And if he's not ready to go late in this postseason run, with a Victor Wembanyama who treats a mid-January game like it's NBA Game 6, Game 6 of the NBA Finals. I mean,
don't make fun of that because the entire league is mailing it in for 5 months.
No.
At least one guy
I love it.
gives a shit.
I love it, but that's what I'm saying. No, I love it. Don't get it confused. I love it.
There.
Yeah, no, I love it. I don't want to get confused, but I'm just saying you have a true competitor in Victor Wembanyama who literally leaves it all on the court. Same thing with Jokic. I know he loves his horse racing, but you mentioned those teams, Rob. I'm excited to see that. And then another thing, AA, LeBron and Durant, round 1, Houston, LA.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be fun, but that might be where the Lakers season ends. If we don't get Reeves, what's his status, and Luka, what's going on there? I'm looking at the seeding in the Western Conference. I know OKC, you guys just talked about how banged up they are. I think they still have at least somewhat of a cakewalk to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, because if you're looking at, again, the Spurs, Nuggets, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility of the Timberwolves beating the Nuggets in the first round. I'm not calling it.
Timberwolves are a professional pain in the ass. They are good at just being around in the playoffs.
That's a tough matchup. That is a tough matchup. I expect that series to go 7 if everyone's healthy. Just early look. But that 2-3, they're going to beat each other up. San Antonio, Denver, Minnesota. I think whoever perhaps is the 7th seed is going to give San Antonio a little bit of a run. But OKC, I mean, if they're facing Portland in round 1 that's good. That should be easy. And then in round 2, look, Houston could be scary. Could be scary. But if the Lakers win that series, that'll be a quick one. So I do think OKC has enough firepower still to at least get to the conference finals. I would be more worried if OKC was a 2 seed or a 3 seed and had to face San Antonio and Denver in round 2.
No,
but you brought up – go ahead.
The Oklahoma City's playing the same game the Cavs are right now. Is like both of assuming no upsets happen in the first round, both of these 2-3 series in each conference are going to be semifinals are going to be shit kickers. Like you got the Celtics and the Knicks going at each other. That's what the Cavaliers or Pistons, whoever that would be hoping. What would happen is that whoever won that series would have to get a ride to Cleveland in an ambulance, with treatment and ice and elevate everything. Yeah. So, that's going to be interesting to watch. I do have one closing question for the group. And we've been talking about the Cavs' chances. We've been talking about the Western Conference. We've been talking about the Eastern Conference. We've been talking about the NBA, everything in general. Mm-hmm. Realistically, and we're saying this now at the end of the regular season, 82 in, do you see them getting out of the East and beating one of those Western Conference teams? Do you think the Cavs have the firepower right now as it stands to sit here and beat either Detroit in the second round, Boston, New York in the third round, and then go into the finals and deal with an OKC, with a Denver, even with a Minnesota, Houston, something along that line?
That's a pretty loaded question. I would say they definitely have a good chance to get out of the East. I'd say they have just as good of a chance of Detroit and New York. I think Boston's the front runner to come out of the Eastern Conference, and I think for good reason. Getting Jason Tatum back that late in the season and him seamlessly going right back to being Jason Tatum has really helped them out. But I do think the Cavs getting Max Strus back, Jalen Tyson's back and healthy. We talk about them having like a full unit for the first time in it seems like a minute. I think that's big for the Cavaliers, and I think they could win the East. Now, I will say this, and this is just my bold prediction early on, and I'll just make it known. I think the NBA champion is coming out of the Western Conference. We just talked about how fearsome that is.
Where I was going with the question, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they are just so fearsome. I mean, Denver, OKC, San Antonio. We talked about, and Double A alluded to, Houston could be a problem with Amen Thompson, Alford and Sugun. Kevin Durant leading the charge. I mean, they LeBron could find some magic. I mean, don't put it past. I'm not ever going to put anything past LeBron when it comes down the court. You never know. And if Reeves can get back there healthy, who knows? All I know is the Western Conference is loaded. It reminds me of the days of Steve Nash and Kobe and all those guys, Tim Duncan and all them, like those teams. So, yeah, I think the Cavs could get out of the East, but it could be a sad Western Conference sweep or something like that.
So even if we're, hypothetically, if we do get out of the East, and we face San Antonio, and the same thing happens again that happened to baby LeBron back in the day, and they get swept out of the building, and it's not even close. Would that be a successful season?
I mean, they got to get past the second round. If they get out of the second round, we're going to have a different conversation, because the conversation for the last couple of years has been, can they get out of the second round? So if they get past that, everybody's going to have to figure out a different way to discuss this Cavs season, right? I mean, I think it's a success if they at least get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and if they get a 6-7 game loss to Boston or New York, whoever it is, I'm okay with that. Do I want to win the NBA championship as a fan? Yes, I want to see the Cavs win. It's been 10 years, but I'm okay with it depending what they do in the offseason and who they were to have discussions about. But there would still probably be discussions if they don't bring it home this year, because that's why you go out and get James Harden, to bring it home, not to get past the second round.
Yeah. I think there are certain matchups that would be tough. I think Cavs OKC would be a tough matchup at full strength, just because the perimeter defense would be extremely tested. But again, it's tough. That's a tough question in terms of what is the expectations from that? Because Cavs Spurs, I give us a chance to win that series. I'll give us a chance there. If it's Cavs Nuggets, I'll give us a chance. OKC is the only matchup where I'm like, that might be a little bit iffy for us. But I do think, Rob, I think it's very possible for an Eastern Conference team to beat a Western Conference team in the finals. I don't think it's that lopsided.
Well, I think the talent disparity is right now, but I think that the one hope we have is that it'll be a street fight for whoever gets out of the West, and we're going to be, or whoever is representing the East would be dealing with somebody who is pretty battered and beaten. That, I think, would be the equalizer.
And my only point too, Rozycki, not to interrupt, real quick. My only other thought too is, Double A, the Western Conference has guys that have been there, done that for the most part. I get Boston's been there, done that, but there's not a lot of guys in the Eastern Conference that have got to the finals, let alone win it. So I feel like that alone is enough of a separating factor. We just talked about, Jokic has a championship. Durant has a couple. OKC, the defending champions. San Antonio, I know that's the one that's not an NBA champion yet, but I think me and you just have different opinions on the Spurs AA. I think the Spurs are more of a deadly team to face, or a scarier team to face than OKC. I think they match up in the Western Conference Finals. It's a 5-6 game series. I truly think San Antonio is being slept on by you, my bro. They have such a good young core, and I think they're built longer to last than OKC. I truly do. Wembanyama, Harper, you look at Stephon Castle, you look at some of these guys they have. Bro, they are doing so well that they moved on from Devin Vassell, who was part of their young core before this young core. They are doing so well. And okay, maybe my Texas guys have got to me in terms of some Spurs.
Yeah. You got some Texas barbecue.
I'm just telling you.
Did you get some churros?
I'm just telling you. I think you're sleeping a little bit on the Spurs, bro. I think they are going to have their way with a lot of these teams in the Western Conference.
Rob, you got some news?
Yeah, and we'll part ways with this for this break here with this little bit of nugget here, as AA is saying on the bottom lower third here. The schedule is out, and AA, I'm sure you're emailing Chad and TK to let them know they're going to be doing some post game. We are in the in the slot that nobody could give two shits about yet again. Instead of the Magic, it is the Raptors. Cavaliers and Raptors at 1 o'clock on Saturday. That will be on Amazon Prime. After that, it looks like the way this thing is built up right now is the Saturday games are going to be the 3 and 4 seeds, and the Sunday games are the 1 and 2s. So yeah, you got Cavs Raptors 1 o'clock on Prime. You got the Nuggets and the Minnesota Timberwolves in Denver. That will be at 3:30 also on the Prime. Then the Knickerbockers, they will be facing the Atlanta Hawks in New York at 6 o'clock on Prime. Yeah, we're getting a deal here. And then we're going to have the primetime matchup, KD and LeBron. Maybe the last time we could have such a matchup here. That'll be on ABC at 8:30. And then your Sunday docket, the Celtics are going to be playing somebody at 1 o'clock on ABC. The Thunder will be playing somebody at 3:30 on ABC. The Pistons then will be at 6:30. And then the Spurs, Eli's brand new obsession. He has a Victor Wembanyama poster hanging above his bed as we speak. They will be facing somebody at 9 o'clock. So we'll be on the air for that one. But yeah, you can check out Inside Edge and everything with that, and Chad and TK. They're going to be doing post-game work. Do they know that yet, AA? I know I just got that note from you. Have they gotten that note from you?
They'll be ready. They'll be ready.
Well, that's right. That's right.
Chad and TK, if you're watching right now, guess what? You're doing post-game.
And they're ready. Remember, Rob, they already know. They're ready.
You'll be fine. All is well. But yeah, hopefully you'll have a good game to talk about. But yeah, the Cavaliers, they'll start their playoff journey on Saturday at 1 o'clock, that coveted time slot that is going to make everybody here in Cleveland really, really happy. And yeah, we found out that Prime is the new NBA TV, everybody. But yeah, this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We ran a little bit long on this first segment. We still have a whole lot to talk about, though. The Guardians. They went down to Georgia, and it was not a pleasant experience for them. They lost their first series of the season. We'll get some reaction on that one. We'll have some news and notes. Also, too, a lot of big stories going on in sports media right now. It looks like the coach of the New England Patriots was having some infidelities. And, it got caught up with an NFL media member. So we're going to get into that, too, and news and notes. Apparently, and Eli has some evidence that he can show to everybody that, in fact, somebody can win a UFC title on one friggin' leg. We'll talk about that, too. But this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We have Eli Moon, fresh out of Rumspringa. We got AA Anthony Alford without the Don Lemon glasses. I am getting older as we speak. I am Rob Rozycki. This is the main event, and we'll be back.
Whether you're searching for a baseball autographed by your favorite World Series slugger, a signed football by an iconic Hall of Famer, or the jersey of a world-famous soccer star, you've come to the right place. Here at sportsmemorabilia.com, the web's leading source of authentic sports memorabilia, you'll find more than 500,000 authentic products from nearly every professional sports league, team, and player. Not only will you find your next prized sports possession with ease thanks to superb customer service and tremendous site experience, but you'll have the satisfaction and peace of mind that every product listed comes complete with a certificate of authenticity and is fully backed by the sportsmemorabilia.com lifetime authenticity guarantee. Mosser Moments Photography is a husband and wife wedding photography team based in Cleveland, owned and operated by Ryan and Hallie Mosser. For the past 10 years, they've captured more than 100 weddings across Northeast Ohio and beyond, always working together as a true two-person team. Their style centers on authentic, emotional storytelling, documenting the real moments between two people in love and creating images that feel natural, comfortable, and true to the couple. Rooted in Northern Ohio, but inspired by their travels, Ryan and Hallie bring a warm, personal approach to every wedding day. Their work blends experience, consistency, and a genuine passion for helping couples relive their best day through timeless photography. Learn more at mossermomentsphotography.com.
And welcome back to the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I am Rob Rozycki. We have Anthony Alford, Eli Moon, and we have a whole lot to talk about over the next couple of segments. Sorry about that one.
Bless
I need
you.
a cough button on my microphone, but whatever. We got a lot to talk about here. We got the Guardians. They lose their first series of the year. One thing we did not talk about was an NBA championship head coach got canned immediately following the season, and actually right after he found out he was going to be in the Hall of Fame. So weird week for this NBA head coach, and then obviously we have our news and notes coming up. But Eli, you have a few things to say about one of our fabulous sponsors. We got some candy ready. Even though I'm diabetic, I still like to hear about candy.
Yes. Now, I've heard a ton about this, Robin. I wish I could say I'm the expert on candy, but I'd have to hand it off to our co-host and our bro, Double A Anthony Alford, who's literally, I think he spends all of his weekends at BA Sweeties. Is that right, Double A? You're spending your weekends at BA? You got the camping bag out there nowadays?
I do, and because of how hot it is outside, I spend a ton of time at the ice cream shop there at BA Sweeties because my go-to is the milkshakes. I love milkshakes. I love, the different ice creams, the custom-made ice cream flavors that they have provided at BA Sweeties. Over 75 years of local business here in Northeast Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio. BA Sweeties, the largest candy store in North America. Not even talking about the candy itself because there's a ton of them. If you're in the sweets, BA Sweeties has you covered. You're in the sour candy, BA Sweeties has you covered. Jelly beans, toxic candies, all that stuff. Anything you can think of. The traditional candies, the creative custom-made flavors and candies. BA Sweeties has you covered. And don't let me stop you there. Popcorn and the different flavors of popcorn from, your traditional extra butter popcorn to the caramel popcorn, cheddar, buffalo ranch. They have a ton. One of the go-tos for a lot of kids, it's those rainbow, the different colors.
Yeah.
You've never sounded so old.
Oh man, I used to get those. Oh man, those are fantastic. They're great. BA Sweeties, they have you covered. Interstate 480, the Ridge Road exit. Make a left on Brook Park Road. Normally, I would tell you will see a giant lollipop. We've had some storms here lately, and the giant lollipop is down. But the store is still open. So go out inside and check it out. And mention the word lollipop when you're there. If your cart is $40 or more, you get $5 off your order. It's an in-store promotion only. Mention the word lollipop at checkout. If your cart is worth $40 or more, you'll get $5 off your complete order at BA Sweeties. They have candy, they have ice cream, and pretty soon they're going to have Putt-Putt Golf Land opening up very soon. So, bring yourself, bring your kids, bring your significant other, bring your friends. Have a good time. Spend some time at BA Sweeties because as soon as you walk in the door, you're going to smell candy. You're going to feel like a child again. I don't care if you're a grown adult. I don't care if you're a grandparent. You're going to feel like a child once again at BA Sweeties. Definitely check it out. Again, Interstate 480, Ridge Road exit, make a left on Brook Park Road. And you'll see the entrance past the gas station. Again, the giant lollipop. It's currently down, but it will be up soon. And you'll see it. BA Sweeties.
Now, dude, now BA Sweeties, Cleveland legend. I'm sorry if I appeared distracted during that read. Another Cleveland legend actually distracted me, and I'm sorry to derail the show right here at the top of segment 2 because I know we got Guardians to talk about. But did a liver transplant patient last night give a chair shot at a TNA pay-per-view?
Yeah, he did.
Yes, he did.
Okay, I'm
yes,
looking
he
at
did.
Bernie Kosar right now at TNA Rebellion, which honestly, I think after my divorce here from WWE and my nothing to AEW, I might have to check these guys out. But yeah, we got Bernie Kosar throwing a chair in a match, in a finish. Nice work for Mr. Kosar. I'm glad he's on his feet, moving around.
Absolutely. No, you got to be careful, Rob. You can become a TNA fan. That's perfectly fine. Just understand that they're all going to sign with WWE at some point. So you will have to, if you become a fan,
AEW.
But they have the partnership with WWE. So that's why I say if you're splitting with them, just understand that you might have to go back to WWE to watch your favorites from TNA.
I think Rob will be in the clear though, because there's some again. Everyone I've talked to who attended that TNA show loved it.
Yeah,
everyone loved it, and Bernie Kosar, seeing him on his feet, of course. Nick Nemeth, some of you know him as Dolph Ziggler. He was the hometown hero there. He was at the show. EC3, who we've had on our network in the past. He returned to TNA. So yeah, a lot of good stuff, and to see Bernie there, and Rob, you're gonna kick out of both of you will get a kick out of this. The Hardy Boys was on that show too. They lost, but they were on the show. They were spotted at the Steelyard Walmart, and I've heard from people that they bought our guy Stefan Johnson bought tickets to TNA solely because he saw the Hardys at the Steelyard Walmart.
dude.
If you're not listening, if you're listening from an area outside of the greater Cleveland metropolitan area, the Steelyard Walmart is not for the faint of heart. It is not a gentle place. It is much like the Serengeti, where it is survival of the fittest, and if you are weak, you will be eaten. A lot of crime, a lot of shootings in broad daylight, by the way, and also too, when you walk into the actual Walmart, there's just piles of crap on the floor. It's not even organized. They don't even care. So the fact that the Hardys, and I know Matt and Jeff's rap sheets respectively. I'm sure they're not afraid of a rough and tumble environment, but they got through that. Not bad.
They're Team Extreme, bro. And they're Team Extreme. And here's the thing. They weren't just shopping, like, for a few things, like a bag of chips and a drink. They had, like, Jeff already had, like, some chicken, it looked like, in his hands, or some frozen meat, like, ready to cook. Like, they were ready to throw down. Yeah, I mean, they were. Where's the barbecue at, Jeff and Matt? Come on.
Now, I do feel bad because I'm sure where was the pay-per-view at? Wolstein Center?
Correct.
I believe.
Yes.
Yep.
So, yeah, if you're at the Wolstein Center, and I've done this not maybe specifically from there, but from downtown Cleveland, and you just Google closest Walmart to me, you will get that Steelyard Walmart. So I'm not sure they were seeking danger out. It just found them naturally.
Do you think if I probably shouldn't ask, but do you think if somebody were to, like, challenge them, like, in the Walmart, not knowing who they would have grabbed the table and hit a swanton? There's ladders in tables in Walmart.
Listen,
I don't know about that one there.
I've once seen somebody sprint out of there with a big screen TV years ago when Black Friday was actually a thing, and you gotta make sure you're on point. The Steelyard, by the way, has history on this show.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Oh, no. Rob?
What?
Go ahead.
The Steelyard, I did my part of this broadcast during football season from the Steelyard parking lot.
Oh, yeah, dude. Again, not the most advisable decision here. I mean, you might have a little bit better luck doing it literally in East Cleveland, just holding out a wad of $100 bills. But yeah,
Dude, Double A's done the show in some of the craziest spots ever. Like, that's a discussion for a different.
Well,
Rob, back to you.
No, because Rob, I was initially I was trying to drive home and do it, but Rob kept me safe. advised me of Ohio driving laws that if you have a handheld phone and you happen to be distracted, you might get a ticket doing a live broadcast. So I proceeded to pull over to the nearest parking lot, which was the steel yard.
That's dedication.
Yeah, well, you know what if you're going to get a speeding ticket, at least get it on camera. Content is king. But yeah, okay, we have a little impromptu main event history and Bernie Kosar sighting. Again, go Bernie. I know he was touch and go for a while, and the fact that he's moving around a wrestling ring, he might actually. And I was looking at that chair shot over and over again. He might be moving a little bit better than Ric Flair is right now. So you do have that going for you, Bernie. Good job. Yeah. But this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. Eli Moon, AA Anthony Alford. I am Rob Rozycki. And back to the business of the day. It kind of poo-pooed our Guardians segment here right before the show started. Off to a very nice start. The Guardians picked a pretty crappy time to lose their first series of the season, going down 11 to, I believe, 3. I just stopped counting. I think 11 to 1, something along that line. To the Atlanta Braves. To tell you where they were at, Austin Hedges was on the mound and did get the final out in the 8th inning. Just another laugher game. 2 laugher games. And again, a shutout victory in the middle of that. But a rough series for the Gardos in Atlanta. But otherwise, a pretty good start. Otherwise, they have gone through a gauntlet of teams here. And somehow, at the start of business today anyway, came out of it with the best record in the American League. So what are your feelings on this team today, this Atlanta series in general?
Yeah, I feel fine about the Guardians. It's a long season, and I've adopted the mindset that I'm gonna enjoy the journey. So I'm gonna continue on that. I'm not about to freak out. Not 9-7 now, I believe, on the year. So I'm not gonna freak out about 9-7. I'm not gonna have a worry moment here. What I will say is I would like for the offense to wake up. I'd like them to have some of their moments that they had early on against the Dodgers and the Mariners and some of those teams. But I'm not freaking out yet. I think there's enough shine in this pitching rotation that has kind of surprised us. Bybee had a rough one today, but Gavin Williams has been good. Parker Messick's been really good. And Joey Cantillo, I think he's interesting enough to where, we have some intrigue with this pitching rotation. Offensively, however, it was nice to see Kyle Manzardo hit a home run the other night. I hope we can get him going. And I guess those are just my concerns. Yes, the pitching's going to look good most nights, but when it doesn't, and I know you're not going to always give up 13 runs, but when it is 4, 5, 6 runs, and a team like the Yankees coming to town, or somebody like that, are you going to be able to have enough offensive firepower? And that's my only concern really is the offense right now. I'm not concerned. I know Bybee got rocked today. I'm not too concerned about the pitching rotation, though. I think he'll be fine. I think he's still a sound starter. I just am concerned that the thing we talk about every offseason is the Guardians are going to add another bat, and the big bat this year was Rhys Hoskins. He's been all right. I mean, I know what I believe he homered today.
Yeah,
so,
he was responsible for the 1 run today.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he's been all right, but it's just AA, Rob. I just feel like it's tough to beat good teams when you're hoping your 6, 7, and 8 guys will just get on base. Not hit a double, not bring somebody in, just get on base. And that's been the biggest thing. So that's what I learned from this Brave series. And I got St. Louis up next, so another NL team, we'll kind of see how they fare against them.
And this is where this tough schedule really kind of exposes, okay, if your offense can't come through, it's going to be a little bit painful. In particular to tonight's game, and there's a deeper discussion about Tanner Bybee that is premature on April 12th, but we had discussions during the pre-show about him. But defensively tonight, there were a few instances where, the infield and particularly the outfield, let the Guardians down and let Bybee down. So there were a few moments there where the game tonight got out of hand. But yeah, Eli, you're spot on about the offense. Can those bats on a day in, day out, basis get going? They are this year getting timely hits, right? So, last Sunday, game 2 against game 2 of the Sunday doubleheader against the Cubs. Last Sunday, it was the 6th inning when things got going for the Guardians offensively. But it's just man, you're just begging on a night in, night out basis. I know we kind of joked about it, but like, can we get a game? Can we get consistent games where we have 4 or 5 runs and you're not really sweating? That's on the wish list. But guys, we know with the understanding that this schedule is nuts right now. So you just take whatever you can get.
Kansas City was a little bit of a series off comparatively, and I think St. Louis will be about the same. And we'll get to the offense in a couple of seconds. The pitching staff, though, I think the pitching staff has done its job pretty much throughout its whole. It's given this team pretty much a chance to win almost every day. Game 2 against Seattle was 8-0. The first game against Atlanta was pretty much over before it started, and this one. Those are pretty much the only 3 games that were dead and buried out of the season so far. The problem is, though, it seems like some of these games that they're dead and buried in a lot are Tanner Bybee joint productions here. 4 2/3 today. He has not gotten through the 5th inning yet. He has 5 innings. He hasn't gotten to the 6th inning yet this season yet. He is 3-1 when it comes down to strikeouts to walks. I think 18 strikeouts to 6 walks. ERA over 6 1/3, I think. Mm-hmm. This is the guy you paid. This is the dude who is making veteran money right now on this staff. I think him and Sean Armstrong in the bullpen, and that's it. Mm-hmm. This is the dude who has, and that money at least tells me that you were counted on to be a top of the rotation pitcher. And I understand, yes, it's 3-4 starts. We're in the embryonic stage of this season here. But you had some consistency issues last year after you signed the contract. It wasn't exactly your greatest year. You've actually trended down now for a couple of years, even from that breakout rookie year you had a couple of years ago. Tanner Bybee is the one that really is concerning. And, yeah, obviously you're going to have a starter on every team that you may not trust, but that starter is typically not your number one guy. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, that might open the door to a dude, like a Gavin Williams, who's kind of more of a classical 7-8 inning guy and just, kind of dominate the other competition. So, it might be him. It could be Parker Messick. Somebody's going to have to take the top of this rotation because Bybee right now isn't cutting it.
Yeah, and I guess my thing, too, is we got to keep in mind the inflammation he had after his opening start. I don't know if, and I'm not saying, I'm not speculating. I try not to speculate here, but I think it is at least worth thinking about, hey, he did leave his first start, with inflammation, and I believe his shoulder, right? Inflammation in his shoulder.
I believe so. Yeah.
So
yeah, in the 6th inning of opening day.
Right. So and he has pitched, I believe, 2 starts since then, but you notice he didn't go to the injured list, and I just wonder if it is bothering him a little bit more, and I'm not saying that's the full excuse. You get rocked like this, there's probably other questions besides if you have inflammation in your shoulder, but that can be a lingering issue. And, we talked about it on Primetime, Chad and I, and we talked about, could this be something that could bother him long term? I wonder if it makes sense, with the Guardians, with having Parker Messick having a really strong start to the year, having some of these guys that have looked good, Gavin Williams, some of these other guys. I wonder if they could get away with maybe having Bybee sit out, for a start or 2 and just rest up if he is bothering inflammation. I know it's early in the season, but I'd rather address it early, especially if the Guardians are playing better than most expected. We had a conversation last week about would you have expected this with the schedule, and not a lot of people would have. So I think maybe see what's going on. Check that shoulder out again to see if something's going on, because I think I get he had a rough year last year, not as good as his rookie year, Rob, but I don't think this is the kind of pitcher he is. I think he is a better pitcher than what he's showing right now, and I wonder if some of it is, a lingering, or nagging injury health-wise.
If the injury is the case, and, he is with this soreness, with this stiffness, whatever we want to call it here,
yeah.
If he's a 6 ERA pitcher, then he needs to go on the IL. We're not talking about a guy at the end of October trying to gut through a playoff start. We're talking about the beginning of the season here.
Yeah.
And they need to shelve him. If they do not shelve him, I must assume then he is healthy and he is ready to go. But I will entertain that idea. But yeah, Either way, though, this team is going to have no margin of error. I think we can all kind of agree on that. Bad defense, bad at bats. You can't be doing that kind of stuff. Base running mistakes. You have to play pretty much perfect baseball to have a chance, and that's what goes down to these sharp games. That's what goes down to these very, very close white knuckle affairs. Actually, the shutout win they had yesterday was the first win they had all season that was not a save situation. Even though Kansas City ended up being 10-2, it was technically 5-3 when Matt Festa came in the 8th inning, and they dropped a 5-run 8th. So he got a save for that game. So everything's been close, and they're going to have pretty much close to perfect starting pitching, bullpen, everything like that. Because, this offense right now is sputtering. And I think the troubling part of that is we all kind of expected it to. This is nobody really surprised right now. I think we might be surprised with some of the bats who are hot right now. If you look at a DeLauder, if you look at a Juan Brito, getting down.
Austin Hedges.
Daniel Schneem is not having a bad start to the season. But, Moon said, he was talking about the bottom of the lineup. I disagree a little bit. I think the bottom of the lineup's actually been holding up their end of the bargain. You throw Angel in there too, a little bit of Rocchio. It's these black holes you have at cleanup with Manzardo, with Bo Naylor hitting 5 or 6 depending on the day. Yeah, Hoskins has been okay. Fry has been off to a slow start too. And Jose Ramirez has not gotten off to the greatest of starts. So, when your 3, 4, 5, 6 hitters aren't doing much, that's how you get one run in a game.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there, Rozycki, but also at the same point in time, Angel Martinez was also moved up in the lineup because he started producing well, and there was a question, before Gabriel Arias went to the IL about, him and Rocchio. Where do you even put those two in the lineup? And yes, Rocchio's been batting a little bit better recently. I still don't think he's a super great hitter. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to argue me there, but I think they lucked out. I know Juan Brito went 0 for 4 today, but he's been batting decently well since he's come up. They lucked into that. They still know in their back pocket is Travis Bazzana. If he can get on a good stretch there in Columbus, they have opportunities. I just think I think we're kind of saying the same thing. When you get past Jose Ramirez and you get past DeLauder when he's longer in the lineup, that's why they moved him down in the lineup to try to get some pop there. But when you get past those guys,
batting 2 today.
Right, but the other, I believe yesterday he was 6th or 5th or 6th in the lineup.
I think it's a matchup thing. I think when they're facing a lefty, he's hitting 2. When they're facing a righty, he's hitting 5 or 6.
Yeah, it's interesting, where they're placing. But I also wonder if some of that too, Rob, is if they're just trying to create some spark, because we're saying where really you get past that 4 or 5, and there's just it stops. It's not even just a matter of they're not bringing the runs home. No, they aren't even getting a walk. It's getting to the point where. Are we going to have a discussion about a Guardians team that is in first place in the Central come June? And are they going to be a buyer? Because there's a lot of different variables. If this was a normal year and there wasn't a lockout impending, I'd say yes. You look at some of these prospects, not Bazzana, but some of these other prospects, and you look and see if you can go get another bat. Go out and get that. But with a lockout impending, do you want to really make a franchise altering move, which would be if you moved off of one of these prospects? And I've heard it entertained throughout different people throughout the city, and I've heard it entertained with some of these prospects. Should we go out and get another bat? I think the Guardians are really going to stay pat for most of the year. You're going to see one addition on the offense maybe, and that's Travis Bazzana this year. Besides that, this is what we're getting, guys, and we just got to hope that Manzardo can return to what he was doing last year, hitting the cover off the ball. We can hope that
doesn't worry me. It's Bo Naylor that does. Because we're year 4 of this experiment, and he's still kind of there.
I don't trust that Bo Naylor's going to improve. I think that's kind of lost. I would not turn to Bo Naylor and say this is going to be a consistent improvement there. I don't see it. I don't see it. Eli, to your point though,
and what kind of helped Bo out the last few years? The fact that he was a top prospect and was being protected when it came down to playing time. He was going to get it. And B, that there was really no other competition. And, you have, a couple of guys on the roster right now. David Fry's back catching full-time. I know he's not having the greatest of offensive seasons right now, but he is hitting 200. Bo can't say that. and you also have Austin Hedges right now, which I know it seems a little weird, but Austin, he has not had the worst start to this season. I think as of close of business today, he's hitting 389.
He's the best part of
Now,
the season so
obviously,
far.
that's going to go down by 150 points or so at least, but he is handling the bat okay. And then you have Cooper Ingle right now, who I think I checked yesterday. He's hitting 350 in Columbus. So you have options right now, and the closer Bo gets to arbitration, the closer he gets to being a 30-year-old player. He's I think 26 right now. I would think the Guardians, that patience might be running out when it comes down to somebody who they once thought as a top prospect.
Now, I am confident in saying this. I do not believe Tanner Bybee is going to be the number one ace by the end of the season. I don't see it. That injury, I don't know if he's going to, if it is still lingering, I don't know if he's going to kind of settle in and kind of figure things out. I think there's a higher ceiling with Gavin Williams. And all three of us love Mr. Parker Messick. Like, we love him. Like, what he has been able to do. Now, again, the only thing I'll say, at this current moment, he's fifth in the rotation. But what he's been able to do in his couple of starts to this point, his 2 or 3 starts.
Yeah.
He has been able to shut down batters, top-level batters. I watch the Dodgers. I'm watching him perform against the Dodgers. I'm watching him against Ohtani. And that whole Dodger lineup, it was like, dude, this dude's a stud.
Well,
this dude is a lockdown stud right now. And like
the Lauder and him are kind of have a little in common right now, because I've been impressed with the fact that neither one of them has looked lost. Neither one of them has looked like the situation is too big for them. And you throw in Juan Brito in this thing. Parker Messick is actually still rookie eligible. This is still technically his rookie year, which means that there's a chance that the Guardians could have 3 guys on the final Rookie of the Year standings.
Yeah.
Including the winner. Who knows? So that puts them in a nice spot, and what even puts them in a better spot. And this might be the first time we could say this in any of our memory recently, anyway. 2 of those guys are actually hitters. 2 of those guys they're not pitchers. We developed somebody who is technically yet actually not a pitcher. That's
amazing.
Great. And by the way, Messick's ERA is under 0.6, WHIP under at 0.9, and 3 starts, 2 wins. He has absolutely been lights out. He has been. Either him or Gavin Williams have been the 2 best pitchers on the staff. So the future might be now, motherfucker.
Yeah, I think it's Messick for sure that's going to take the lead on this rotation. I mean, you mentioned the ERA, Rob, but also I think the low number of walks. Doesn't get a lot of guys on base. He's not putting himself in a position where, okay, I got to get out of a second and third jam.
5 walks and 17 innings pitched.
Yep, exactly. So he's taking care of a lot of business, and he's getting it done in low pitch counts, too. He's not going deep in the pitch counts in terms of 3-2 full counts. He is mowing down batters. And, is he going to have a start where he only gets maybe 4 or 5 strikeouts? Yeah, we've seen that already. But still, I'll take 6 innings strong, a win, and the Guardians, take a 2-0 victory, because that's what, like we keep talking about, get used to it. You're not going to see a lot of 8-0 victories. You're going to see a lot of 2-0, or, if you get a shutout. So, that's where I'm at with Messick. I feel like he, Double-A, I understand he's 5th in the rotation right now. All it takes is him having to move a start where he gets a shorter day, maybe a day less of rest, and he moves up. They just have to maneuver it around. The beautiful time for that, too, is the All-Star break. You get a little bit of time where you can reset the rotation. So, everybody kind of gets a little bit more rest for a moment, depending on who makes the All-Star team, because I think there definitely is 1 or 2 All-Stars on this pitching rotation. Whether it is Messick and Williams or whether Bybee can figure it out, it's still early. We keep stressing. I want to keep stressing the fact that it's still so early. We are not even 20 games into 162 games. So, but Messick, he might be main event Messick.
My 10% into the season.
Yep. Yeah. My last note on this. So because the Guardians have lost twice on Sunday night, they lost today 13-1. They lost 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, to Seattle 8-0. Again, it's early April, but this is fun. In the worst way, who is worse? The Cleveland Guardians on Sunday Night Baseball or the Cavaliers on Sunday afternoons?
Actually, I think the worst Cleveland team on Sundays, period, is the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
That wasn't part of the question, Rozycki. That wasn't part of the question.
Stick with the topic.
Yeah, stick with the topic, bro. We're talking Guardians and Cavs.
Well, right now, the Cavaliers have an 82-game sample size. The Guardians have had a 16-game sample size. So I think I'll still put some faith in the Guardians right now.
Yeah, I'm going to lean towards the Guardians. And look, the Cavs, I think, have a weekend game coming up here in the postseason. So I sure hope.
It's Saturday. Cavs are fine. It's a Saturday.
Okay, they will probably play at least a Sunday game if they advance past the first round, which we're hoping. And I'm speculating that they definitely will. Then they're gonna play some Sunday postseason games. I sure hope if they were struggling, they definitely were, that they figured it out, or it's gonna be rough.
I saw a weird stat real quick on the Cavs, like what's their record depending on the network. Like the other networks, Prime, they have a winning record, and ESPN winning record, NBC winning record. ABC, they're 0-3
Dude.
on ABC. It's the most random stat in the world, but they get their behinds kicked whenever they're on ABC. And I think they did ever since Donovan Mitchell's been on the team, 4 seasons ago. I think we're 1-7 on ABC. Regular season and postseason, the Cavaliers. It's a weird thing, but it's a Sunday. But the Guardians, 21. They have been outscored 21-1 in the 2 Sunday nights.
Thanks.
Yeah, we'll hopefully work on that one here. It's still a young season. We got to do. We're the thrusters and boosters are just starting to fire up on this rocket launch, if you want to throw an Artemis reference out there. But yes, this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. Shall we take a quick break right now, gentlemen, or shall we go to news and notes, or we have a lot of crap to talk about, actually. Actually, one thing I did want to bring up, and this was in the basketball deal, and I'm just seeing this now, and I'm sorry we didn't really have a whole... Hopefully you guys saw this, but a few guys have been reacting to it. Mike Breen, a few of the other national commentators. This is the first year that in a long time where the first round of the NBA playoffs, it doesn't have local TV coverage.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
And Mike Breen saying on the Knicks telecast, quote, "First time ever, entire playoffs exclusive to national TV. Poor decisions. Fans want to hear from their home team announcers, at least in the first round, part of the family. I bet the networks pay a fortune, but the fans deserve to be thrown a bone. This is our final telecast of the season." And that actually kind of weighs into FanDuel Net ending today, because I kind of thought about that. I'm like, okay, so no playoff stuff, but yeah, the local teams are going away now. John Michael and everybody here in town, they're going to be sitting there watching it just like all of us.
And I'll say this too, because a little bit of a different experience. Myself and Kyle Cornell, we've had opportunities over the last few seasons to call high school football for the Chagrin Valley Conference here locally, and football. We enjoy it, we love it, and we do the game of the weeks. And we at least get an opportunity to do a couple of playoff games, but you feel as a local broadcaster that because you're around them every single day, that you have a better understanding of the story of your local team than, no offense to the national guys, than the national guys. Like Mike Breen can talk about the Knicks a little bit more extensively than any of these other national announcers and television crews. I understand that hurts. Like to have 82 games, you're doing the broadcast probably for at least 70 of those games. And then voila, the real season starts and you have no part of it on the television side. I understand, like that's real pain.
Yeah.
Well, and I like that. The one nice thing, and I'll say this as the radio broadcaster right now. The radio guys love it because we'll keep going on WTAM, WMMS, at least here locally. They'll have Cavs and Guardians playoff everything. We've Tom Hamilton's called a World Series. Like we get to hear that hometown voice, through the radio anyway. But yeah, for the TV guys, yeah, it must feel like, oh, okay, we did all the heavy lifting through the games that nobody wanted to deal with, and now that the lights are on bright, you're going to kick us out, and we're going to have Amazon Prime take the 1:00 telecast.
Yeah, and that's been and it's been that way for a long time. I mean, it's been swinging that way for a while. I think years ago, the local 30 years ago, local broadcasters were able to go all the way to the conference finals. Then it got cut back to the second round, and then I believe over the last 20 some years, they were allowed the first round. And now that's it. I mean, and now think about this, and we might get into this. We're going to have an Inside Edge Network Cavaliers preview show coming up on Wednesday night. Myself, Eli, Chad Bryant, David Reese will be on that show. And we'll actually talk with Tim Alcorn on Wednesday night because, on the radio side, it's going to be great. But, telling fans, hey, you want to watch game one? I hope you have a subscription to Prime Video, ready to go. There won't be a free preview. You better have a subscription to Prime Video, or else
dude.
you're not going to watch the
Bezos
game.
Does not have enough money. I mean, you got to get that ready to go. So,
and that's just the reality. And football fans found this out. I think what was it last year? Kansas City Chiefs wild card game was on Prime Video.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you bring up the NFL. I think that's one thing that we've lost. And I know the NFL likes to do, and it looks like the NFL model is kind of permeating through now. The NFL was the first one really to get rid of local TV commentators and broadcasters for games. I mean, no more Nev Chandler, no more Jimmy Donovan. It's national deal every time. It's. You get, I guess the closest thing to having a home broadcaster right now for the Browns is Spiro Adidas. So, it's all right. Hey, the
You made two Browns jokes.
Got good, so we're gonna move you up here and have you do about 4 Browns games a year.
I think it's time to go to break because you've made two Browns jokes. We have not brought anything up about the Browns. We have not talked about their record, their quarterback controversy, the draft picks, about Myles Garrett. We haven't talked anything Browns, and you have found a way to just punch us, just smack us in the face.
That's how bad the team and organization is that I can accidentally make fun of them. But yeah, this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We got AA Anthony Alford, Eli Moon. I am the Browns hater, Rob Rozycki. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes here. We got news and notes, and we're going to try to see how many stories we can wedge into this segment because we have a lot going on. We got a back-to-back Masters champion. We have some tawdry stories from the NFL and its media corps. And then, we have the one-legged UFC fighter. Who was that one-legged wrestler back in the day?
Oh, my goodness. I'll look it up during the break.
Okay.
You put me on the spot. I'll look it up. Yeah.
But yeah, he actually, unlike the wrestler, he won a
Zach
title.
Gowen, I think that was the guy.
Zach Gowen, there it is.
Oh, you guys are thinking WWE. I'm thinking, so respect to Zach Gowen, but I'm going to look it up during the break. I cannot think, but there was an NCAA wrestler that also wrestled with one leg. And he was
he had no legs.
Right.
I think, there was one there.
He
had. Yeah.
So, all right, your turn.
But
your turn.
I'm looking at a Ric Flair promo after WrestleMania 8 right now. So we're going to take a quick break. I'll enjoy that, and we'll reconvene and talk about, all of the craziness that has been happening in the world of sports over the past 7 days. Again, main event, Inside Edge Podcasting Network, Rob Rozycki, AA Anthony Alford. We have Eli Moon, and we'll be back.
Clean energy, bold flavors, no jitters. See why people won't shut up about Dubby. Clean energy, no jitters or crash. Helps you lock in and focus over 15 absolute fire flavors to choose from. Visit Dubby.gg and use promo code InsideEdge10.
Welcome back to the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. This is the main event. We got Double A Anthony Alford, Eli Moon. I am Rob Rozycki, and we are in the final act of our extravaganza here. News and notes, and there are a lot of newsy and notesy kind of things. I feel bad and lead off with this one here. We got Rory McIlroy, back-to-back Masters champion. He is now the fourth person ever to accomplish that feat. It seemed like it was a pretty turbulent run. He had the biggest 36-hole lead, then was actually in second, and the final day was dramatic too. But yeah, we have a back-to-back Masters champion.
Yeah, no, it was interesting too because Rory McIlroy had talked about it, guys, about how he took some time off. He spent more time with his family. He got to get some course work on Augusta, and it was a lot of different stuff that he got to do. It seemed like he took some time for himself. Some people weren't happy with it, saying maybe it was an unfair advantage that he got to practice on the course and all this other jazz. But I think him taking some time off and prioritizing it. I mean, back-to-back Masters champion, Rory McIlroy is one of those guys. He's established himself as one of the, I don't know about all-time greats, but at least in the last 20, 25 years or so, he's definitely one of those guys that you think of when you think of golf. Behind Tiger Woods, behind Phil Mickelson, all those guys. But you think of Rory McIlroy, and it's pretty cool. Good to see him win. I mean, and back-to-back, that's history. So pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and I thought this was going to be a runaway victory for him. He had, after Friday, the largest Masters lead after 36 holes, and then that got collapsed pretty good. So it was really a pretty tough leaderboard on Masters Sunday, which, hey, every fan wants that on Masters Sunday, like have it come down to the wire. But it always seemed like as long as McIlroy can handle business and not getting anything crazy, he was going to take this. And, yeah, good for him. I mean, we were talking about in years past, can he be considered one of the all-time greats? At least he can get to that Phil Mickelson category. So he can at least get, obviously, a long way to go before you get to Tiger and the greats. But having a back-to-back Masters championship, back-to-back, hasn't happened since Tiger, to do that. That's how you put yourself in that class. And at least in 2026, guys, when you talk about who is one of the elite golfers in the sport, who do you turn to? What's a name that could pop in? And you can't say Tiger Woods. Oh, Roy McIlroy. Like
it's
that.
Either Roy or Scheffler. Those, I think, would be the two. And they both factored into it. My thing with Rory, and I like him. I think he's fun to watch. I think he's a good representative of the sport. He's polarizing, and I think he's going to be. I would love to. I think Alan Shipnuck, the guy who did the author who did the book on Phil Mickelson, he's writing one on Rory, and I'm kind of curious to see what that's like because, he's known for being cantankerous. He's known for not being the nicest, cuddly guy on the course anymore. But remember, he was the dude that was capping for the PGA when the whole Live Golf War was happening. And he was the one who was really going to bat. And subsequently, he was the one that really did look stupid when the PGA kind of, bowed their sword down a little bit and kind of started working with the Live Golf Tour. So there's a reason why I think Rory might have a little bit more baggage than your other, typical golfer. So I'd be kind of curious to see that one. But, he's cementing a legacy and he's cementing a resume that's going to put him up there with maybe not Tiger yet. Tiger is a whole different stratosphere. That's comparing, a normal NBA superstar to Michael Jordan. Like you got a little bit of way to go.
Yeah.
But he is definitely entering that deal with maybe a Gary Player, maybe, Arnold Palmer from back in the day. I know Palmer still has a few more majors and everything, but, when he is kind of on that second tier of great players, other than maybe Jack and, and Tiger and maybe Sam Snead and all those guys back in the day. But, yeah, he's definitely there. And like it or not, he's going to be around for a while. And to the stuff about the whole playing the course and having the advantage, how many Masters champions have had that same advantage and not gone back to back? or even not even gone back to back, but several. Normally under that logic, if you win the Masters, you should be in the top 5 for the rest of your career if you have access to the course. So only 4 times back to back. That's the only time. Apparently only 4 people that advantage worked for. So yeah, I'm not really hearing too much. I don't want to hear too much hate on Rory.
Yeah, I mean, but he definitely has his own. The thing is, he's just not as relatable as some of these other guys we've mentioned. With golf, and Scotty Scheffler is the name that comes to mind. There was a once upon a time where Jordan Spieth was supposed to be the next big thing in golf, and then he wasn't. I mean, but a few names, to Double A's point, has passed Rory McIlroy by as like the next big rave, in golf. And I think Scotty Scheffler. I think golf fans, and people that want to get into golf are looking for somebody that's relatable. I'm going to be real. I am not the best golfer. In fact, I'm probably one of the worst golfers. I am a good mini golfer, but when we get to the real thing. But what I will say is,
I'll see you at Sweeties, buddy.
Top golf day. We don't need to be on a real course and be a danger to others. But
hey, I'll see y'all at Sweeties doing putt season. We'll test their theory.
Oh, I'll see you. I'll see you, pal. No, for real. But I think it's interesting. I think golf fans and people that are trying to get into golf are looking for somebody relatable because it is a sport that you can go and maybe not great, but you go with your buddies, you have a few beers, you drive around on the course, you hit the golf ball a few times, and that's it. And Rory McIlroy is like not respectfully, he's great, but he's not relatable in terms of, who else is catching a private jet, going to private, lessons, all this other stuff to get ready for it. I get you have the money, but then you see Scotty Scheffler, who just feels like he's like a bro you'd kick it with on Saturday night.
You know why? And
why?
Rory needs to do one thing.
Oh no!
He needs to win a tournament, with one of those rounds starting in a day, on a day that he began in a holding cell. That's the most relatable thing Scotty Scheffler has ever done.
That was what a story that was.
Most people know what it's like to have to deal with law enforcement.
What a story that was.
Maybe not on that level, but it is the Scheffler Slam. It is the gold medal, the green jacket, and the orange jumpsuit.
Can you imagine, man? Something bad happened to you. You're watching yourself on TV. You're watching reports about you on television while you're in jail.
That would have to be surreal. It really. While you're trying to warm up for said tournament, you really hope you're still going to be in.
Yeah, what's the one channel jail cell's going to have? ESPN. Like that's on there. He's like, I'm watching Get Up, and I do want to make a quick note about Scheffler. This past weekend, 9 birdies, 1 eagle, no bogeys. Bogey-free weekend for him, for Scheffler. The first time it has been done at a Masters since 1942.
Yeah, I mean, and that was good enough for second place. So, I mean, it's not like he was completely out of it, too. And, you had some of the best golfers in the world there. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun to see, I think, a little bit maybe where Scheffler and Rory might have a little bit more of these duels. I think golf could go with that because, again, those are kind of the 2 household names that everybody knows. And that's always what we always missed with Tiger. That was the one complaint about the greatness of Tiger was that there was never really a rival to keep him honest. And with this case, we might have it for at least a few years on the PGA Tour.
We're seeing, and Eli brought this to my attention. We're seeing what you're asking for, Rob, in tennis. When you're seeing like 2 of the top guys with charisma carrying the sport for generations to come. Eli, what did you see earlier?
Yeah, it was Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner. We've talked about them here on the show on Main Event, about them being the 2 young guns really for tennis. I mean, like, those are the 2 young stars. They actually played today, and Sinner took it in straight sets. And I just think it's interesting. We're looking for relatability in sports. We're looking for somebody to, because I'm going to be honest, usually to play tennis or golf, you need a little bit more money to be able to do that sport. So you're looking for somebody that you can relate to, man. And I think tennis is doing a better job of it, and Sinner and Alcaraz are 2 guys that can be relatable, especially when the world's looking for something different, when the NFL is outpricing you for their biggest games, or WWE doesn't want repeat, returning customers. They don't want repeat business. I think tennis and golf has that opportunity with some of these guys to market it, especially when you have LeBron James talk about how he wants to go watch golf after his basketball game's done. I mean, that's the first thing, sometimes out of his mouth. in a post-game interview is, I want to go watch golf and drink wine, and so I think it's there's an opportunity, and they have a few guys that they could push.
Well, and the thing is, and let's stick on tennis for a couple seconds here. Tennis had that. Tennis had that before, Skinner and Alcaraz. They had Nadal. They had Federer. They had, Djokovic. So you had this, who's going to win? Not, how many's Tiger going to win by? And I think if you want to compare it to golf, the one thing that golf has that literally won, that none of those tennis players that I just mentioned really do, we have an American involved. And that's why we had a golden age of men's tennis for 15, 20 years that by and large the USA did not really care about all that much. Not in the way that they did McEnroe and Connors and all that stuff back, because you had American players involved. The women's game was huge because you had the Williams sisters, representing the states very, very well. At least with Scheffler, you do have an American in there. Rory, not an American, but from the Isles, does, speak the parlance of our times, can communicate with the crowd. People do know him. So at least you do have that. With tennis, that might be the one thing. And I understand we're getting more and more international every day. The NFL's putting games everywhere. NBA is doing the same thing too. But I think the American part of it, for the American audience to care, is going to have to be there.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, but I also think we're in 2026, and we just had Bad Bunny perform at the halftime show, and a lot of people were receptive in a good way to that.
Yeah, but he's an American.
I get it, but he spoke. I get you. I love Bad Bunny. Don't
nice
you try
red
to
hat there, Moon.
Don't even try to play me. Don't even try to play me. He spoke, but he spoke Spanish. Yeah, I know.
Anybody who took that seriously, I'm deeply no.
Don't even try to give me no shit, bro. But no, I mean, what I'm saying is he spoke Spanish, obviously, throughout the performance, and people were very receptive to that. Yes, I'm well aware Bad Bunny is a U.S. citizen, but he spoke Spanish throughout the halftime performance, and I think that was something that people were very receptive. A lot of people were receptive in a great way to it. So I think, the country, and here, we're in a weird spot in the country. I mean, I'm not going to get into it today. I don't have the energy. But we're in a weird spot in the country where not everybody's so, if it's my flag, then it's for me. I think people are looking for just people that they can relate to. I keep bringing up the word relatability with this, but I think people are just looking for somebody that is human, has morals. Like, that's why people like Bad Bunny in the music world and are discovering him outside of the music world and loving him. So why people could find Alcaraz or Sinner or some of these guys and be like, well, he's a young gun who's just trying to go make his way. I think people are looking for
Scheffler has too, because I remember him coming out saying, like, because he's a young dad, and he said something along the lines of, if it ever comes to a choice that I have to make a decision between being a good golfer and a good father, I'm picking being a good father. And I think statements like that make people relate, make people more. A lot of people can relate to being a dad. You can't relate to being a top-level, millionaire golfer, but you can relate to being a dad.
Well, let's be real about this, too. Especially with these individual sports. You're looking for someone who is dominant. You're looking for someone who is going to win a lot, who wins a ton of tournaments, and then eventually somebody who can beat someone who wins a lot. And in a perfect world, you do get that 1-2 punch, but they have to win majors. They have to win PGA tours. They have to win tournaments. They have to be consistent winners. I mean, we hate dynasties in our country in sports. We hate them. But in a lot of these sports, that's how we tune in, because it is a name that either we can root for or somebody that we want to see fall. So you're looking for that. That's why some people are still chasing Tiger Woods from a viewership standpoint, whether you like him or not, because you're looking for that next dynasty. Tennis has that. Tennis was actually perfect because the previous generation was still competing. They lost to Alcaraz and Sinner.
Yeah, it was
a major tournament.
Life, yeah.
So you actually got an ideal power of transition of power. Golf is looking for that. Tiger didn't pass the torch to anybody. So
no, but he tried double A multiple times.
But the reality is it didn't happen.
Right.
So because it didn't happen, now fans are searching for their next dynasty.
Well, and this is what golf though was kind of reeling from was if you just look at the circle of life and the way careers work. Tiger was not expected before that car accident to take the turn he did when he did. He still, we thought anyway at the time, had 10 more good years of Tiger Woods kind of golf in front of him. Mm-hmm. But between the car accident and the personal stuff, between the injuries, which have now led to the more personal problems and him stepping away from everything for a while, I don't think we were prepared for that. The succession plan. If Tiger Woods was right now healthy and had no problems, he's what, 50? Right. So he would be about the age where he is, tipping the cap to Scheffler, and he is, dealing with Rory a little bit. So, yeah, that kind of deprived golf fans of that. That was just life in general.
Yeah, but I also think.
What's up?
Sorry, Rob. My only other point on that, Doubly, I know you were talking about it didn't happen, but I guess what I mean by he tried, Tiger Woods tried, and obviously the off the green stuff as well. He tried, but there was nobody ready for it. Like Rory tried, he tried to hand it to Rory, he wasn't ready for it. He tried to hand it to Jordan Spieth, he wasn't ready for it. And then and Tiger's ran into his own problems off the green, so there really hasn't been to your point, a transition to power because the king hasn't been there. The king of golf hadn't been there to hand it off, and when he tried earlier, nobody was ready.
Well, good point. Let me respond to that real quick. It's not the responsibility of the dominant person to hand off to the next person. The next person has to take it.
Right.
Like you know what I mean? Like, it's not Michael Jordan's responsibility to hand off the NBA to Kobe Bryant. Kobe had to take it. Mm-hmm. Same with LeBron. Same with Stephen Curry. Like,
you could actually say that it was those guys' responsibility to force somebody to take it, not to give it.
Exactly.
But the other thing I do want to say, we are pretending that Tiger and that dominance replaced somebody else in the same dominance, who replaced somebody else in the same dominance. We've never seen Tiger or any golfer win at the rate that Tiger Woods did for when he was at the peak of his powers. So asking any golfer, even if it is a 25-year-old Jack Nicklaus or a 25-year-old Arnold Palmer to come in and be what Tiger was, that's like asking, in 10 years, when the Dodgers have a new DH, hey, are you going to be pitching too? Like,
I get what you're saying.
It's just not a right expectation.
Well, we're not. I don't think we're saying be Tiger Woods. What we're saying though is be the face of the sport though, and step up. And there was nobody even stepping up that was consistently playing
Tiger,
to real quick. That somebody that was playing to a consistent level to where you could be like, this is the next face of golf. There was nobody we could draw our fingers to, even casual fans going, okay, I know so-and-so is going to do that. There was always a moment of that, but there was never. We brought up tennis earlier. You had the transition from Nadal, Djokovic, Federer, all these guys, and then the new wave right now. And we've seen it in NFL, NBA, MLB, we've seen it. So we're not saying be Tiger Woods. Yeah, he's in a world of his own. But somebody had to step up and at least take the next era, and we kind of been waiting for that in golf.
But again, the difference is too, before Tiger, what you'd say the faces of golf, and I use the term faces, plural. You had Jack and Palmer, you had Chichi Rodriguez, you had Gary Player, Trevino. You had that assignment of face of the sport was covered by a group. Tiger was the guy. You had maybe Ernie Els was a brief challenger. VJ was a brief challenger. Mark O'Meara was a brief challenger. But, no disrespect to those guys, are world-class golfers, that almost felt like a champion pro wrestler just being felt jobbers the whole time. Like, okay, I'll run my program with this guy for 3 months. I'll run my program but nobody stuck. Nobody was there long-term. And at least now, we can play this game of Rory or Scheffler, or you got Jason Day out there. You got a lot of great players out there who it's going to be up to them to be the personalities and have the game to kind of take the attention. But golf's probably is definitely in a much better spot than maybe 10 years ago when they were still hoping Tiger would come back and be Tiger at some point.
My last point on this, these guys right now, they better take it now, because Charlie Woods is on his way to Florida State. He has committed to, I don't know, some sport called golf. Florida State, he'll be there in 2027.
He's the one I feel bad for, because
I know the
every
expectations
son of a pro
are
athlete,
so high.
has been just as great. Ask Michael Jordan's kids, ask Bronny James. Yeah, he's going to be walking in, and they're going to be asking why he's not walking on the water his freshman year.
And with all the stuff that's going on with his dad, we could spend a ton of time this summer talking about all that situation.
And he's going to have something that his dad never had in college: a big ass paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's golf.
That's why he's going to college.
NIL money.
That's why he's going to college.
Yeah,
because he's going to get paid the load of NIL money at Florida State too. It's going to be warm all year long.
Yeah.
Get the Waffle House waitresses ready to go. But yeah, I mean, again, it's going to be, and it's not just sports. That's just kind of the quintessential son of a great man, son of a big, deal kind of thing. But yeah, we'll see what happens. This is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcast Network. We got news and notes. A few more minutes here with Eli Moon, AA Anthony Alford, and myself, Rob Rozycki. Next story, I guess you guys see Doc Rivers got shit canned.
Sorry, that's not meant to be funny.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Hold on. Let's try that
funny.
again. Say it again, Rob. We'll try again.
Doc Rivers got shit canned. Okay. Yeah, that wasn't. But yeah, did you guys hear that the Milwaukee Bucks? It's been probably a weird week for Doc, because I don't know of too many other people in the NBA who have made the Hall of Fame and got fired in the same week.
Yeah, rough week. They did. No,
that's the thrill of victory and agony of defeat, right there.
Yeah. And Shams Charania did announce that the Bucks will pay his final year of his contract. So the one thing is, Jimmy Haslam, and he's part of that Bucks ownership, obviously.
How many coaches is he paying?
He's gonna pay everybody. He's
he
not
still
pay the right guys.
Is he still paying Hugh Jackson?
Oh, I'm sure. We'll have to research that, but I'm sure he is. But one thing for Doc Rivers, we talked about it before the show, and Double A actually had some stronger points on Doc Rivers than me in terms of his feelings towards Doc Rivers as a coach. I think he's done an all right job. I mean, he's obviously been in the postseason a good portion of his career, but he's also lucked into some of these jobs because of living off of the legacy of the Boston run and like the tenure he was there. I mean, that's how I feel. Double A, I know you probably feel a lot more passionately about Doc Rivers living off legacy, but I think that's really where we're at. We're probably at the end of he has officially ran out. This is the expiration of that 08 championship, and I think, Hall of Fame, and you're probably going to go chill on a beach somewhere, Doc. I don't think anybody else is bringing you in.
Okay, the Browns are paying 2 head coaches right now. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's way better than I thought. Thank you for keeping Stefanski all those years. That kind of helps.
That really helped.
When we did this show 10 years ago, around that time, it was very easy to say Doc Rivers could be the next Greg Popovich. And because he was getting the Olympic run, he built up the good rapport. He had been around the NBA coaching circles for a long time, also a player, so he had that understanding.
Yeah, Doc Rivers has been somebody my entire life as a basketball fan has been around the NBA.
Yeah, so if you pinpointed one person who could have as much of an impact as like Greg Popovich. I'm not saying like all time, but we were talking about Doc Rivers heading to that, coaching elite. It never worked out in Philadelphia. He always got bounced in round 2. And every single year in Milwaukee is this excuse after excuse. It's like, roster. I've had rosters worse than this turning around. I had this injury. I had that injury. Every team in the NBA has dealt with injuries. To me, Doc Rivers, overrated. To me, Doc Rivers has lived his entire coaching reputation off of that 2008 championship with the Celtics. The entire Celtics team in 2008.
They're real good at that. Paul Pierce is still scooting around in a wheelchair somewhere.
They would tell you a championship from 18 years ago that they're the greatest team that was ever assembled in the NBA. Yeah, tell that to the late, great Kobe Bryant, who waxed them in 2010. I know it went to 7 games, but the Lakers won in 2010. Hey, how about that Lakers-Celtics rematch in 2009 in the finals? It didn't happen. You lost in the second round of the playoffs to Orlando, so it didn't happen. So, yeah, I mean, good luck, Doc. We would say go to ESPN, but you lied to them to get that Bucks job a month into your broadcasting career. So, yeah, good luck, buddy.
Yeah, and the one thing we also didn't bring up, too, when we're talking about the underachieving Doc Rivers, he had Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. You know, he had that Clipper run where they were supposed to be the next big thing for a pretty long time, and it never really kind of materialized. You know, I don't think he ever really got, did he even make a conference championship with that?
No. Speaking of the Clippers, I do want to give a shout out to Ty Lue. Ty Lue said, I think that they were at the end of December or mid-December, they were like 6-20. And Ty Lue said publicly, we're going to go 35-20 to close out the season. The Clippers are the first team to start that badly and finish their regular season with a winning record. They're in the play-in. They might be in the NBA playoffs. Congrats.
Yeah, they did not go 35-20. I believe they went 37-18. I mean, you know, that might have been one of, you know, the best coaching jobs. Like, I wouldn't hate the idea if we saw, you know, some votes for Coach of the Year going to Ty Lue for that reason. Because remember, they had to deal with the whole Chris Paul, you know, that conundrum. And I wonder if you were to take a look at when they gave Chris Paul his walking papers and when this turnaround started, I wonder how close those two dates would have been. But yeah, we digress. Doc Rivers has now been promoted to former coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, and honestly, I don't think he's going to be on a beach. He's going to be doing TV work. I don't see him being picked up by another NBA team at this rate.
He might commentate the Cavs game this weekend.
He very well could.
He might be on the Prime Video crew.
My whole thing with him on TV right now, dude, he's had 25 years of coaching. He's been yelling. He sounds like just vocal quality. And again, I'm not nothing personal. It just sounds like crap. But it is what it is. This is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. News and notes. We got 2 more stories here. Moon.
Yes.
You know the particulars on this one because you speak combat sports.
Yes.
The UFC had a pay-per-view in Miami. Mm-hmm. The guest of honor probably should have been in Pakistan trying to negotiate the end of a war, but it is what it is.
Lower gas prices.
That being said, we had a rare one-legged, and we say one-legged, he has 2 legs, but a fighter ended up taking a title with basically a blown-out knee.
Yeah, crazy stuff here, and I want to get into that because this UFC fighter, Carlos Ulberg, he won the vacant light heavyweight title in round 1. He actually finished the fight with a KO of Jerry I always botch his last name, it's so crazy. Prokaska, but Jerry Prokaska is like
shocking. Fighters' names are so easy to pronounce.
He's a beast though, man. He fights very ferociously, and he even mentioned after the fight that he learned a very valuable lesson that you can't show mercy in the cage, in the octagon. And, you know, so you can see, like, if you go, you know, we can't play the video because I'm sure they'll yell at us somewhere. But basically, go watch the video. Ulberg blows his knee out, like, very early on in the fight. You could tell he's off. Like, okay, dude, there's something wrong. And what they're speculating, Robin AA, is that he's suspecting an ACL or a blown knee. Like, so it could be like a torn ACL. They haven't come out with all the specifics entirely yet, so we're kind of keeping an eye on that. But severe knee injury. But he just rocks Prokaska. He gets him, boom, rocks him. Wins the fight by KO. It's over. He's out immediately. Ref breaks it up. It's over. And Carlos Ulberg is the undisputed. It's It's not an interim. It is the light heavyweight title. It was vacated. It was up for grabs. He is the light heavyweight champion. He mentioned after the fight, hey, I got a blown out knee, but I'm a world champion, so we'll figure the knee out. So the good news about fighting is you get, like, first off, they'll suspend you. They'll give you an injury suspension through the commissions, the state commission, athletic commissions, tell you can't fight for this long. You're not allowed to start training again until like this long, or at least combat, an actual fight. And so they'll make sure that he's probably going to miss some time for that alone. Plus, he'll have to recover. So we'll see. The UFC's not always patient with injuries to their champions. Look at Tom Aspinall and the eye injury situation. So they're not always the most patient, but I would hope they'd be patient. This is a cool story with a lot of bad going on with Sean Strickland and other guys being the face or trying to push at the face of the UFC. A guy like this, who just really gave a good light to the UFC for a moment. It was cool to see. Real quick, I know you guys have some thoughts on it too. We're talking about the one-legged wrestler, actually with Anthony Robles in the NCAA. He won an NCAA championship. I believe at Arizona State. We were talking before, but him and Zion Clark, I believe is the other name. He actually has no legs. He was wrestling as well.
Yeah, I was going to say they actually have no legs. That wasn't just an injury and them dragging around dead.
Correct. It's incredible. Incredible, Rob. Not to interrupt you, but I remember watching Anthony Robles with my Papa Moon, win the national championship. I'm not gonna lie, bro. It brings a grown man to tears because you want to talk about perseverance, and we'll get back to Oberg here in a moment. You want to talk about perseverance and Oberg's a great example of that too. But perseverance to go out there and be at what most would view a disadvantage in a combat sport, and to just kick ass like that, I think it brings a grown man to tears sometimes, just knowing the inspiration it could bring to you. And that's Oberg and Prakash. That's when you see the knee even there, like the blown out knee, kind of crazy.
Yeah, not a whole lot of defense being thrown up in that shot there, but yeah, I do. That's kind of a Rocky, Apollo Creed at the end of, I think it's what 2, when they kind of meet each other in the. Yeah, I like that shot.
Yeah.
But no, actually, and again, this is an injury, so you got to work around it. But you talk about the other guys that legitimately had no arms, no legs, whatever.
Yeah.
Jim Abbott, threw a no-hitter with one hand.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, well, maybe not in a lot of cases, the great ones, especially with wrestling, if you have no legs as a wrestler, okay, obviously you're going to take, there's some things you can't do. Mm-hmm. But there's also some things your opponent can't do to you.
Correct.
And you also have the lowest center of gravity in the history of the mat game. So, there are things you can, Mordecai Brown, he had a farming accident when he was a kid and lost 2 of his fingers, which is why they gave him the nickname Three Finger Brown. And because of that accident, he could throw a pretty wicked curveball that took him all the way to Cooperstown. And again, that's 120 years ago, but that's still kind of using, some people see an accident or some people see a challenge, other people see an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And, that's what, a lot of these guys doing, and seeing it happen as a spectator, if it is in the fight game, if it is in baseball, or Dempsey, the old Green Bay kicker, who had the old record for the longest field goal. He was doing it with half a foot. So, now granted you, the little thing he had to wear on the foot probably helped the ball jump off his deal a little easier, but still. But yeah, sports is littered with that, and that kind of reminds everybody that, bigger, stronger, faster is always great, but ultimately it's a game, and the job is to win the game with the rules you're given. And It's all about, you can get there a billion different ways, and we see that happen all the time. It's cool to watch.
So the injury happened in the first round,
mm-hmm.
in in a span of seconds?
Yeah.
Maybe a minute?
Yeah, about a minute or so, I believe, later, Jerry Prokaska was seeing lights, and Oberg was lifting a light heavyweight title.
Well, that was a good move on Oberg's part. If I'm sitting there with a blown out knee, I'm sitting here thinking okay, this fight, if I'm going to win it, it's going to have to end in the next minute and a half.
Because you got to think too, you both know in the fight mentality in any competition, but especially fighting, okay, I'm finishing this round. I'm juiced up. We're going to finish this round. We're going to power through it. We're going to finish this round no matter what. Because if that round ended and the fight was still going on, that probably would have been the end of the fight.
Yeah. And you know, they would have had the doctors take a look at them too. Like they're very like that. That is something I will give credit. I mean, the athletic commission to the UFC, they'll have a look and like if they see something's off, which definitely you see by that photo something's off. They will call that too. It would have just been a medical decision. It may have been. I'm not gonna say for sure, but in something like that, AA, they may have even called it off medically, and Jerry would have won that fight, and we never get this crazy Oberg first round knockout. A legend story. I mean, even if he doesn't do anything the rest of his UFC career. Legend.
He paid for his medical bills.
Yeah.
But what helped him out though was the time, because you look Double A put that the art up there. Yeah, if you looked at it closely, and I'm sure you could see him limping, if it was a moving picture. But you'd have to look at it closely, and you kind of think something's wrong. Guarantee you, 10 minutes later, that thing's going to swell up the size of a pumpkin.
Yeah.
Then that'll get called. So, yeah, he had a few minutes before nature kicked in and the body started protecting itself, and he took every advantage of every second he had, and it was just, we better, if we're going to win this fight, we're going to have to do it in 90 seconds. Let's go.
Dude, I mean, look at that. Oh, my goodness, bro. That just, pain, bro. I mean, I had a Charlie horse the other day, and I thought that was pain. Look at that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie horses are bad. I ain't gonna lie to you.
They are. I mean, they got me swearing like a sailor when I get a Charlie horse. It's bad, but
the worst time to have a Charlie horse is when you're living by yourself and you have nobody else to turn to. Which that's happened in my case. You know what, though?
Oh yeah.
You guys are all right though. Congrats. And again, if nothing else, him winning that fight. The amount of money that you win versus in a loss, he covered his medical bills with that W. So,
yeah.
Oh, and with the exposure he's gotten, he's fine right now, and as fine as one can be with a blown out knee. But this is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. We got news and notes. One more story right now. And this is the one that's been kind of tabloidy and kind of catching the eye of a lot of people in and out of sports. And I regret that we have to talk about this. I don't want to do it in kind of the normal way, at least personally. I know we got Mo and Curly over there. They might be doing a few other things. But the Athletic, one of their news reporters, one of their NFL reporters, Diana Rossini, yep, these are the photos. This is courtesy of what I believe the New York Post.
Yes.
Was spotted, and again, spotted it looks like on vacation with the lunkhead there. Next to her is Patriots coach Mike Vrabel. And this was something that broke earlier this week. And looks like, unfortunately for Rossini, the ball is rolling downhill. The Athletic originally had her back, said everything was fine, and a couple of days later that turned into a temporary suspension while they investigate. But either way, this is currently kind of being used as an example of the state of modern media. And right now I want to use it as an extreme completely double standard right now, because for anybody familiar with this story, the headlines you're seeing is Diana Rossini involved with, or incriminating photos. And again, I want to say straight up, we don't know what the hell that means. They were in a pool together. That's all we got. But all of these headlines are the reporter is messing around with an NFL head coach. Mike Vrabel is not being blamed really at all for this. He is not seen as really any perpetrator in this, even though he is married and has 2 kids himself.
Double, you want to take this one first?
First, this is loaded, and I don't even think we'll have time to hit every single.
Yeah, this is one of these that's going to be kind of tough to knock out in 5 to 10 minutes here. But yeah.
Okay, so let me first address the relationship part of this for a second. From a relationship standpoint, this is unacceptable. The locking of the locking of hands. the hug, fine, but the locking of hands and stuff. So from a relationship standpoint, me personally, I would not handle that well. I personally believe that a private investigator was hired by one of their spouses. One of them. I don't know who, but one of the spouses hired a PI because from that rooftop, you cannot take an iPhone photo from that distance, and you probably can't take an Android photo from that distance. That's a private investigator shooting from like maybe 500 feet away, zooming in and getting those photos.
Well, I think you can. The iPhone cameras. I've seen some demonstrations that are amazing on this one, but I think that's an ancillary point. I don't know if this was somebody hiring a PI. From what I understand, these photos were shopped at 3 or 4 other news outlets before the New York Post picked them up. And New York Post, obviously in direct competition with the New York Times, parent company of the Athletics, so this was dirt on a competitor for them. So I'm sure that's probably one of the reasons why they went there. If it is paparazzi, though, here's why you're a shit human being if you took those pictures. Like, your job is basically there to make other people's lives hell. You really don't provide any beneficial service to anything. You're just there to be a pain in the ass, and you're there to leech off fame and to leech off notoriety and to leech off drama. And okay, great, congratulations, you got your couple $1,000 from the New York Post. Now, like any fucking hooker, just go back in the corner and we'll call you when we need you again. But yeah, it's just a bad situation for her, not for him. He's fine. He's going to go to OTAs next week or the week after, and he's just going to keep on doing what he's doing. Rozycki, on the other hand, her losing her job at the Athletic right now is not out of the realm of possibility.
And her contract's up in August.
So okay, you do have that whole deal that might just solve itself. But that makes she has to now figure out what to do with her career. He's fine, and we have that whole situation, and we also have the the commentary. True or not, in Double A, you did say the whole holding hand relationship part of this whole thing. This kind of starts the debate of the role and the job of media and the way that we have been, or they have been, conducting themselves the past generation, where access is king. You want to be your buddy, you want to be friends, you want to be the cool guy, Jay Glazer, that has all the personal relationships with the guys across the league. But guys can do that and not cheat on their spouse. But it seems like this is where Diana was at, and if true, I don't know.
This is a great point, because in 2026, I know journalism has been placed into question in many different facets and stuff. I mean, what exactly do we want from our journalists? And again, I'll mention this too. I think being an insider is probably the worst media job in sports.
Yeah.
You don't, Shefty talks about it all the time. You can't go to a movie theater and turn off your cell phone and enjoy private time with your family. You can't do certain things privately because you have to be aware. And you are paid by people reading The Athletic. You're paid to have scoops. Diana, her job is to beat out the competition. And if she has a leg up on that competition, that's how she has to do it. And the thing is, too, even if she is suspended, even if she's let go, people are still going to tell her. People are still going to give her scoops. Still.
Yeah. Well, and that's and I guess that's the whole thing too. And again, I'll just throw this as a hypothetical. If this is true, and she had something going on with a head coach, does that make you distrust her information any more than you did or didn't beforehand?
It just gets dicier because me and Double H were having a conversation earlier, I believe yesterday, about this, about how AJ Brown's been in the news for trade talks, and one of the main spots that's been being talked about is New England. And you wonder with like some of these big stories that come out about AJ Brown, where is he going to go, and all this other stuff. And Diana Rossini being inside the Eagles camp, right? Like, and having like insider information there too. You wonder, what's going on. I think there will be at first, Rob, to answer your question, a little bit of distrust at first. But like anything, you can repair an image, especially in today's day and age. And she's built a lot of goodwill with a lot of good reporting. Somebody will pick her up, especially in the day and age we're in now, where she could just launch her own show and explain what's going on and have a different take on it. She just has to reinvent herself, I think, is where she's... This position is unfortunately put her into a spot where she's got to reinvent herself. My only other take on this, too, because I don't have too much to add besides what you guys have said. My only other take, though, is we talk about it all the time with the spotlight. Like, yeah, it's a shame that these photos came out. It's also a shame if it is true, that two married people were out there just messing around, and that's a bad look too. You wanted to see people that Mike Vrabel was in the Super Bowl, literally in February. That should be the last time we were talking about like some real noteworthy stuff on Mike Vrabel until like the draft, and here we are before the draft talking about Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini. So I just think it's a bad look. It's a shame that this is the world we live in, unfortunately, where the dirt always just flying around. There's also a bad look on, if it is true, two married people that are, for Mike Vrabel, a leader of men, and Diana Rossini, somebody respected in multiple franchises' locker rooms.
Well, two things. If she is fired, one of the cause for unemployment would be if she's found to be lying about the being around friends. There were like 6 other people and stuff. If the Athletic finds that wasn't true, that will be cause for termination. But the second
if that wasn't
thing,
true, that's pretty fucking stupid.
you're
You're
right.
going to go out in public with somebody who you're not married with when you're both recognizable. From what I understand, when they were originally shopping these photos out, they were shopping them as, hey, we saw the Patriots coach with a brunette that's not his wife. They didn't make the connection that it was an NFL reporter at that point in time. So, yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty dumb. You could go pretty much any city. If I'm sitting in Hilton Head in a couple months and Mike Vrabel walks into the pool area, I'm going to know it's Mike Vrabel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that's 100%. So again, if she's let go, I guarantee you one of the top reasons, if they found that she lied about that'll be one of the top reasons why the Athletic let her go. So this is something to keep in mind with that. But yeah, I mean, she's an on-air personality, so she'll be able to reinvent herself and kind of go from there. I had a bigger point and I completely forgot it. But go ahead.
And you hit this a little earlier. You kind of asked this question, but I think the modern sports fan, the modern sports media consumer, whatever you want to call it, this day and age doesn't really care about the old school journalistic ethics. Doesn't really care about the distance and and the professionalism. Or, are you sleeping with one of the people you're covering? Your average sports fan, I think, at this point in time is your information right? Okay, then we're going to go with it. Moving
That
on.
was my other point. What's worse in the eyes of the fans, especially in terms of the fans not knowing? A female reporter having relations with a player or a coach to get a scoop, or a male reporter having drinks and socializing and becoming buddy best friends?
Well, it's the female because obviously the female has a little bit harder a time in a man's world anyway. But that being said, the harsh reality of it is hanging out and having a few beers with a dude after work, you're not breaking any vows. There were not laws on the books for adultery that was punishable by jail time. We all read the Scarlet Letter back in the day. That is a breaking of crossing of a line that isn't, the three of us going out and grabbing a few beers with the equipment manager of the Canton Charge or something like
But
that.
let me take it a step further, and then I know we got to move. Let me take it a step further. What if, said, male reporter, things like that, what if they become best friends with a player or a coach, and then player or coach F's up in some way, shape, or form? And then are they going to receive favorable coverage in-house, or are they going to actually tell the truth about what's going on? And then at that point, are they sacrificing breaking? Because with journalism,
well,
we want them to break that trust.
That friendship makes them have a choice. That friendship, that relationship makes that choice even possible. If you're distant, if you're not doing your thing, you don't even have to think about that choice. I work with guys on the radio who are old school journalist mentality, and they're like, "No, I don't give a shit if I piss anybody off. I don't. They're the first baseman of the team. They're going to be replaced in 2 years anyway. What do I care?" So you do have an element of that, but yeah, this whole and the fact that most fans don't care as long as the information's correct. But yeah, you have Double A's example here where you can manipulate the news cycle. You can push stories under the rug a little bit here, then and there, and yeah. So I mean, it is the press's job, even if you're talking about something as dumb as sports. Obviously, it is not exactly life and death here, but the job of the press is to hold everybody accountable. Is to hold, hey, why did you call that play? Hey, why did you get that DUI? Hey, why did you trade that player? We're here to, think Pablo Torre and Steve Ballmer and the whole salary cap bullshit. You're there to call. Journalism is through research and sources and a lot of double checking and quadruple checking, calling people on their shit. That's what it is. And if you're friends with somebody, it's harder to call them on. You can still do it, but you're making a choice that maybe a guy a generation ago didn't have to make.
Yeah.
I have more on this during our What We Learned segment here in a few moments, because there's a point that I want to present, a larger point out of this exact discussion.
Okay, well, actually, that's a pretty good. We can do that right now. Actually, we can move into what we've learned. We're about at the 2.5 hour mark here on the main event on the Inside Edge Podcast Network. We've got Eli Moon, Double A Anthony Alford. I am Rob Rozycki, and we conclude this episode the way that we conclude most episodes, and we figure out how the hell we've gotten smarter in the last 7 days or so. Double A, if you want to start this, Moon, if you want to start this,
I'll take
whatever.
I'll take it since we teased it. So Draymond Green, a few years ago, coined the term new media. New media, which is on the surface, new media is simply we're tired of Stephen A. Smith. We're tired of journalists covering our sport.
You're tired of guys they cannot control.
Right, exactly. So new media, which Draymond Green eventually is just, who does Draymond Green like? But Draymond Green, an active player who is still active, still participating with the Golden State Warriors in the NBA, has a live podcast, is offering live commentary against the players that he's facing. And I bring up Draymond Green in particular because of this Diana Rossini and all this stuff going on. These journalists, these insiders, are competing with active players. They're competing
the
with
ultimate insider.
They're competing against former players. You got guys who are in those social circles. Cam Newton, he could speak on the game. He played it. He competed in the Super Bowl. He was right there. And those primary sources, they're going to those athletes, telling them the inside scoop, telling them the inside edge of what's going on throughout the league, throughout the NFL. The media, the new media with the players, they know way more than what they can share over the air.
Oh, yeah.
Way more. Way more. So now, the old school media, traditional media folks, us, or in particular the insiders, it's their job to get those scoops, however it may be. But as Rob mentioned,
justify the means is what we basically the big question.
Right. But as Rob brought up just a few moments ago, it comes with a cost. Because all of a sudden, can you get too cozy? Can you get too comfortable with your source? And this is where now people are in trouble. And unfortunately, it could cost families.
I was going to say, these people are not worried about just their careers at this point. They're worried about their marriages and their families and their lives.
They got kids. I think Diana Rossini, has 2 young kids. And then Mike Vrabel, I think his kids are older, but you're talking 25 years of marriage.
Just past college.
Yeah, you're talking 25 years of marriage. So basically my question and what I'm learning and what we have learned this week, how far do you need to go to get the story? How far do you need to go? Are you able to get the story without crossing journalistic ethics in order to beat out the competition? Or do you have to take it a step further each and every single time?
You ever see Boondock
to
Saints?
Land those deals? Go ahead, Rob.
You ever see Boondock Saints?
It's been a minute, but yes.
Billy Connolly, the old man in the movie. Remember what he says at the end of the movie? The question is, it isn't how far are you willing to go? The question is, are you willing to go as far as necessary? And that's where we're at. The bar keeps getting pushed. And yeah, maybe at some point in time we hear about a male reporter having to resort to such issues. So yeah, that's...
And the scary thing, and then I'll leave it at this, the scary thing, because right now women's sports, they're gaining popularity, but it's not all the way there, right? What happens though if a male insider has too much of a cozy relationship with somebody named, I don't know, Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese or some of these other female superstars or coaches? How would we cover that? So there, ladies and gentlemen, when you're reading stories across the board, the media is reporting what they can report. But there's a lot of things that they're told each and every single day, locally and nationally, that is kept in the back pocket. It's up to you guys, the consumer, to determine what you want to see and what you want to believe. Because not everything you read is 100% laid in truth. But it doesn't mean that 100% of what you read is false either. It's media in 2026. We got to find a way to get with the program.
All right. Well, hey, I'll take it from here, Double A. I'll talk about some good media and some good coverage that we're doing here. What I learned this weekend is we have another week to share some great news with our friends of the Mentor High School and the middle schools. I want to go ahead and pull this link up. We didn't get a chance to go over it earlier, but I've been excited about this. I obviously make music. I'm part of the collective Lahele. We do a lot of shows here in the community, and we do shows, out of state as well, and just building a real cool community. And music's really changed my life and saved my life many of times. And I think it's real cool. We actually, we're working with the Music Mentors Scholarship Program raffle. So, if anybody here in the Cleveland area, we're Cleveland's digital leader, but make sure you support it. It's Mentor High School's 2026 Music Mentors Scholarship Program raffle. You go to this link, go.rallyup.com/Music Mentors 2026. Music Mentors is a nonprofit boost organization. They're going to serve, and they do serve, the Mentor Public Schools bands at Memorial Middle School, Shore Middle School, Mentor High School. This Music Mentors organization consists of parents, and teachers, and students. They're all working together to promote music in the schools. And Music Mentors supports Mentor High School's Fighting Cardinal Marching Band and the 175 students a part of that. So 100% of these proceeds are going to go from the fundraiser to the Music Mentor Scholarship Program, which will provide scholarships for the band seniors. Again, there you see the link below, go.rallyup.com/musicmentors2026. You can donate, win cool prizes over at the 2026 Music Mentor Scholarship Program raffle. Again, I'm a big music guy, and like I said, it saved my life, it's changed my life. Papa Moon and Mama Moon, they were really taking care of a lot of things from between sports and music and everything else. And I remember my sister wanted to play the saxophone, and it was a big discussion between the saxophone and the clarinet and all these other, and is she going to play the trumpet maybe, or is she going to play the drums? Like, what does she want to play? And they settled on the clarinet, but it was a pretty penny, and I'm not going to disclose, and I don't really remember how much it was, but I know it was a pretty penny, and, my parents shelled that out. And that was, mind you, my sister was in, like, 5th grade. Fifth grade. This is like not even high school. So, it gets more expensive. You got all this other stuff. So, really support Mentor High School. Support, with the link there, support Mentor. I know that obviously Rob's rocking, so we'll support, your city, buddy. Yeah, we'll support your city. And something that's near and dear, like I said, to my heart as well. Music, is super important. So, support somebody. And I just want to make this blanket message as well, this blanket statement. Even if you can't, you don't live in Ohio, you're like, okay, well, I want to find something. Go find somebody to support in the arts. Go find a community to support. Go find a venue to go rock out with on your weekends when you need a night out. It's so important right now in a world that needs creativity. Support the arts. So that's what I learned this weekend.
Actually, and this isn't what I learned, what might help those guys out, and I saw a few videos on this online. Accomplished cello player brings out this 250-year-old antique multi-$100,000 instrument or whatever, and plays the the yo-yo or the Bach, the da 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 da, and then he sets it down and pulls out a 3D printed cello from that morning, and it plays. It was, and I my first thought was exactly what you're talking about. Was like, how many kids who couldn't afford to do this can now have a chance to do something like this? And yeah, scholarship funds like that, no matter where we're talking, that always helps people out. The arts forgot a lot, especially what we're talking about STEM and we're talking about politics and world affairs. Yeah, we still need people to play the horns or hit the drums or get on stage or start singing and rapping and painting and sculpting. So yeah, help them out for sure.
Absolutely.
This is the main event here on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network. I am Rob Rozycki. We got Eli Moon, AA Anthony Alford. And what I have learned today, or this week, is that when the gods want to punish us, they answer our prayers. And in this case, I am talking about the state of Ohio and everything. It was something we all wanted. And I was a outspoken advocate for. I still am in a lot of ways. We are making a lot of money off it, but we have figured out the dark side of sports gambling. And believe me, we've talked about that a lot on this show with the NCAA, with other scandals, that whole Cleveland Guardian, best closer in baseball, gone thing. We've hit it. And we found out that it does benefit. We do get a lot of tax money from it. But that comes at a price, and it comes at a competitive issue. It comes at personal issues with debt and with financial instability. And the state of Ohio, even though they were pretty far off on 3 of the 5 points, put out a couple of bills with 5 things that they wanted to do to reform sports gambling in Ohio, because we've tried it right now where it was completely illegal. That we didn't like that. We've had it now where it's completely legal, and we're realizing that maybe there are some issues with that. We're trying to find that Goldilocks zone where it's just right. And the 5 things that were put up there, though, to try to get us into that Goldilocks zone, no online betting anymore. Now, grant you, I will say this straight up before anybody gets freaked out, the odds that this legislation will pass is low. But no online bets, so that means you can't go on your phone, you can't go on your laptop. You have to be in a casino or a sports book to get this done. Ban on in-game wagers, on prop wagers, and parlay bets. which is all the stuff that we like to bet on. It's combining games and combining bets for the parlays. It's, the prop bets, which are, will Jose Ramirez hit a home run today? Or will he have 2 RBI? Or maybe will the next pitch be a strike? We have experience with that one here. That might be why they were thinking that one. And then obviously the in-game stuff too. And they also want to limit wagers to $100 or less. No more big bets. And the other 2 are no ads during games and no using credit cards to place bets. Those final 2 are the ones that I could wrap my head around. That those are at least a good beginning point when it comes down to the in-game ads. Just as a consumer, we see it happen all the time. With the stuff on the court, on the field, in commercial breaks, whatever. It reminds me, and I say this as somebody who is in an industry that does benefit from gambling, money here. It reminds me of the way the tobacco companies were behaving in the 80s, where you had Joe Camel, you had the Marlboro Man, you had the Miles, you had the cool duffel bags and giveaways and stuff, and it made it pretty appealing to a 12 or 13-year-old kid that this was something they wanted to try. And slowly we saw, cigarettes are still around. I will have one probably in the next half hour. But we don't see commercials during games anymore. We don't see, a lot of the old ways of advertising that they had back in the day. And I don't think the industry's really suffered much for it. It's probably suffered more because it causes cancer. But they're moving along just fine. I think the gambling companies are kind of there too. I mean, you're a 14, 15-year-old kid, and you see Kevin Hart and LeBron James and Snoop Dogg and all these guys running around talking about how much fun it is. You don't realize that 95% of bets lose. So that's something they got to kind of keep an eye on. I think that might be a good walk back. And I don't want to play the moral police for anybody, and I don't want to tell anybody how to live their lives. I will, though, for 5 seconds. If you don't have the cash to put on a bet, then you don't need to put the bet in. You don't need to make debt. You don't need to put the plastic down. So, yeah, the credit card rule, I don't mind. That was something Ohio Lottery and the Keno had for a long time, up until fairly recently. I don't know why we got rid of it. But those 2 rules aren't bad, but you're going to have to be able to bet online. You're going to have to be able to do it in-game parlay and props, and you're going to have to do it over $100. If not, what are we doing? But, yeah, that's
what happened.
The gods want to punish us to answer our prayers.
You know what happened? One of those lawmakers probably watched one too many no flex zone commercials from Wingstop and said enough. We're putting this in. It's over. Forget about it. No more Kevin Hart. No more LeBron.
Yeah, but I mean, it really does remind me of Joe Camel and the cartoons, and you go back and find a cigarette TV ad, which they did exist, from the 80s. And a lot of them, I mean, they look like they would a toy ad or, something geared towards children. That was something they had to walk back in Congress and fix. But, I think the gambling companies are kind of relying on the same strategy right now.
Yeah, it's tough. Eli, I'll kind of defer to you because
you better stop deferring to me.
I will defer to you, Mr. Parlay. I had this 10-leg parlay on a Monday night.
Look, it's been a little rough out here, guys. All right, it's been a little rough out here for my 50-cent parlays, my send them to the moon parlays. We did hit in college basketball for like $237 off of $1, and that's what they're trying to take from us. I know we got to wrap the show up, and I got more strong takes on it throughout prime time this week, so make sure you tune in Monday through Thursday, 10 to 11 p.m., right before Midnight Run with Double A Anthony Alford. So you'll see us Monday through Wednesday before getting your Rozycki fix on a Sunday again here. We're back again next Sunday. I will say this real quick. If they're going to take away our 50-cent bets...
3 plugs in 10 seconds. That was impressive. Go ahead.
If you are going to take my 50-cent parlays away, where I can send it to...
experience, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. QR code up there to the right. Go to take it to InsideEdgeNetwork.com/partners. I got 5. So all I'll say is you're trying to take the 50-cent parlays, the fun away from it. Look, there's other laws that they're obviously trying to put into place too here in Ohio that We don't have enough time to go over it, but they're just trying to ruin all the fun stuff. That's all I'll say. They're ruining all the fun stuff. Hopefully this doesn't go through, because if I can't put a 50-cent parlay in like I did today on a 5-leg home run parlay that didn't hit, but I had fun doing it, then what are we doing here? And I had the money to do it.
Responsibly. You're not putting 10 grand on it. You're not putting your rent money on it. That's what honestly it's supposed to be there for. But I think it screws with sports in a lot of ways too. And that, this isn't something legislation can fix. But, we hear about athletes, that blow a play or have a bad game. They're getting death threats now. And they did before, but it's happening a lot more than it used to, because in addition to losing the game, I just lost my rent. I just lost my car payment. I just lost, my food money for the next month, because, me as a fan, I'm too stupid or too, focused on saying, wait, maybe I shouldn't bet this stuff. And maybe if I don't have the money, I shouldn't put this down. It's not your fault that I can't eat next month. It's my fault for playing with money I shouldn't have been playing with. That doesn't happen. They're getting death threats. We're seeing the pressure on these guys getting mounted up even more. But the thing is that these are also the same guys that are getting the gambling money bump in their paychecks right now. League money all the way around the board is higher than it used to be, and the gambling companies are one of the big reasons why.
And they might still travel to PA or Michigan to get their fix. Time does not allow us to really do a deep dive into this, because there's a ton of things. But yeah, man, that's tough. I do have one quick question before we hit the 3-hour mark for you, Mr. Rozycki. So Saturday's Cavs game is on Prime Video. The playoff game, game 1. And again, Legal Formation will have pregame and postgame coverage here on the network. But my question to you, Rob, since obviously you have, bar experience, is it a guarantee that if I don't have Prime Video, or whoever's watching don't have Prime Video, they can go to a commercial establishment and they'll have the Cavs game on their television?
It's a little easier for the bars to get than your average consumer if you don't have Prime. I would say, there's different ways that you can on cable packages, like Thursday Night Football. Actually, that's probably a pretty good indicator. If you were at your local watering hole and watched Thursday Night Football, you could probably watch this one pretty easily. So, but yeah, there's, we kind of had to adjust to that in the service industry with, streaming and everything like that. But my best advice would be to ask anybody on staff, would be to ask the bar owner, to ask the servers, whoever you bump into there. They'll know, and or at least if they don't, they'll be able to find an answer for you. But I would say your odds are probably about 85 to 90% that the bar is going to have it again. Like Amazon, the infrastructure for the Amazon streaming service here is already there with the bars because of Thursday Night Football, because of an NBA season too. I mean, the Cavs have been on Amazon before, this regular season here. So yeah, I would say it's a pretty likely bet. But again, like anything, just double check. I would, ask your bar, ask your bartender, ask your bar owner, ask your cook, whatever. They'll know. But I would say that there is a pretty strong likelihood you'll be able to see these games.
And would you be able to call in and ask? Because I think this is one of those cases where you don't want to show up to a bar at 12:45. Get situated.
No, if you're asking face to face, I would do it on Thursday or Wednesday or Friday. Yeah, you call up ahead. A lot of times you just check the web. In a lot of cases, if we're airing the Cavs game, we're going to want to tell everybody. We're going to want to tell everybody that we are airing the Cavs game. I mean, it's not. We don't want to keep it secret. So, but yeah, I would say. Again, if you remember watching a Thursday Night Football game at the bar, you'll have it. It's the same exact thing. You're not paying any more for the NBA than you are, for that. So, but if they had if not though, I'd just double check and ask and see what's going on.
Yeah, I my part. I hit my. We got it.
That. Yeah, send us home, Rozycki. They're always about to drop an F-bomb, and every You
All right,
can't swear on the show right
Double
now.
A's healing up. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us here too. We deep into the Cleveland evening here. Listener count has done nothing but increase for the last 3 hours, and that is your guys. That is you. That is you. That is you. Thank you very much. But again, thank you for sticking around with us. We will be back next week around this. Well, actually, no, early next week.
Yes.
We're going to be doing a matinee performance because the co-host of the Side Hustle podcast has WrestleMania duties, and I'm sure we'll bring up WrestleMania and really tease. And spoiler alert, how little of a shit I give about it.
You're not alone, buddy. You're not alone on that one.
That's the WWE's problem. Is that group is pretty big. So.
Remember to watch.
Yes,
Remember to watch the WrestleMania preview show Friday morning. Side Hustle.
Yes.
Actually, yeah. For me, the podcasts around wrestling right now are far more entertaining than the actual wrestling. So, yes, Side Hustle podcast. Do what you do there for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, we will be around Sunday afternoon. And again, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for sticking around with us for 3 solid hours till 1:30 in the morning. That is a great job by you. And good luck at work tomorrow morning if you got to get up early. But for everybody here in studio, for Double A Anthony Alford, for Eli Moon, I am Rob Rozycki. This is the main event on the Inside Edge Podcasting Network, and we'll see you when we see you.